I'm gonna go on my.
Okay, so now it's recording.
Okay, so now how do I know what it's recording? Is it recording the three of us and the PowerPoint screen or what?
So right now, if once we change the settings, everything should be being recorded. So there's going to be the speaker view, which would be right now, I'm the primary speaker, so it would be me next to the presentation. It should also record the gallery view, so it's going to show Jason being kind of confused at what's going on right now. And it should also show there's like a third view that it'll record. So you're going to get like 3 different recordings, but each one is going to have a separate view.
I wasn't confused. I was trying to fix my picture on my screen.
I just wanted to poke a little fun because you were like deep in thought. I was like, okay.
Oh, he was working on something totally else. I didn't read it. Okay. So Caleb, okay.
It's just a delay for me right now. Like I'm trying to press next and it's not doing it for me. So I'm trying to make certain like, okay.
That was me. I did that.
That's you.
I just did just now, but now I'm not.
Here, let me stop. Request.
It says slide control, Caleb.
Okay. Oh, yes. Yes. That was, I think, the button that I might have needed.
Did it work? Hey, there it is. It worked. All right.
Nice.
Okay. Okay. So keep going.
Okay.
When we get to the ones that have like the green teal looking border, I need a volunteer to read those slides.
So like this one?
No. It'll have a green. That one.
This one?
Yeah. Can we get some? Can you call on somebody? You can do one, but then call on somebody that's on camera.
Okay.
To
and
read.
2, 3.
And then this one actually is Shakila. So
Shakila,
Shakila, if you can hear, this is when you see this slide. This is your six. This should be. Hopefully we're at 6:20, right? No, we're not.
Is this a video?
No, Shakila's.
Okay.
Shakila, does Shakila? Do you? Yes. Shakila's gonna be. Do you need control of the? Do we need music, or what did we decide on the music?
Can you hear? I got some playing in my background. Can you hear that? Or
let's test it real quick. Let's test it with us.
Okay.
No.
Okay, if I need to put, huh?
No, I was just gonna say something else that I would recommend is like when you.
Me?
Listen, I'm just listening to see if I can hear it.
Okay. So it's a frequency, so it's very. But if not, I can do it.
Okay. You may have to do it without it because I can't hear it.
So
432. It's 432 hertz.
What I would recommend is this. Is that like a YouTube video?
Yes.
Okay. So let me check something real quick.
But she's on her phone.
Gonna come down. Okay. Shakila, can you send that link to me?
Yes.
Okay. Good looking at.
What I'm gonna say is what you can do, and this is kind of cool. When I get the link, I'll show you. Because when I tell you, you guys are literally utilizing everything that I've essentially been groomed to do.
I'm so glad you learned about this.
Yeah. Because I learned how to do it. I was able to even how to organize bigger events because I did a funeral service for a man that I didn't even know. And then that prepared me to do the funeral service for my grandmother, like literally 4 months later. So It's crazy. God he has a way of putting people in place for you to learn the lesson that you need to learn in that season. So when the time comes, you can pop up and run. Because there's a lot of stuff right now, I think for me, that between probably 2 to 5 years ago, it's all coming full circle and it's beautiful.
Okay.
So now this audio, what I'm gonna do is here. You cannot do both. Would you want this to stay up, Shakila, when you're doing the meditation, or would you want this to be down?
It can stay up. It can stay up because I'm going to give them the option to cut their cameras off so that they can get comfortable.
Okay.
If they like.
So then let me know if you can hear this and
okay,
how clear this is.
Okay, for those of y'all, that was good. But everybody else, make sure you've taken your quiz if you haven't already. Danielle is going to kick you out the room if you try to stay in and haven't taken your quiz yet.
What quiz?
Check your text messages.
So how loud is that? Is that good? Is that not good?
It's a little, can you cut it down some?
Yeah, I can.
Now I'm looking for the quiz. It's a lot going on. I got 616.
Do it from here.
Well, this was for y'all. This is new. So y'all, there's the quiz in the chat. If you haven't taken it yet, you need to do that before 6:45.
Okay, I can't hear it anymore.
Yeah, I just muted it. I mean, like I lost it here.
All right, 1 minute, and we're on. Dougie Fresh, we're on. On.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Perfect.
You might, when I start meditating, sometimes my voice can go a little low, so you may have to adjust it a little bit, but you'll be able to hear,
No
right?
problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Caleb, I'm
ma'am.
starting right at 6:16. So you
Okay,
and I-
just making certain. Is there anything else that we need to review for these?
no,
before-
we'll catch it. This is our first time, so let's go back to that part, and we're gonna kick it off at 6. Hi, what up? Anthony worked hard today. I see it on your face, brother. Both the Anthony. Hi, Anthony Morano. Curtis
doing?
Child is in her. Okay, this
The
is
fancy glasses you have on today.
me.
Yeah,
You haven't seen me with my work glasses?
no. But I like
All
to
right.
keep because you have all these. Everybody has all these different hairdos and glasses and bling and not bling, and so I'm just giving you a hard time.
I know, thank you. You should. I switched wigs just 2 hours ago, so you getting this version of me tonight.
I did too.
You switched wigs too.
Yeah,
Y'all, it's 6:16. We rolling with who's here tonight. Out of respect for your time, welcome. Tell me right now, Caleb is going to be controlling the waiting room. Daniela, we need to also make Daniela co-host Caleb if you can. So while you're paying attention, Daniela can monitor.
So I can only do that as the host. So you
Okay,
have
so
to
I can make her.
co-host.
There we go. Daniela, I know you're in the background. If you can hear me, I just made you co-host. So you can also watch the waiting room and let people in. So before I begin, hi y'all. Hi everybody. Even our guest speaker came a little early. That's what I'm talking about. Come on in, Curtis. I'm not going to introduce you yet. I'm not going to ruin it yet.
Don't worry about it.
All righty. So we're going to probably have a few people joining in late, a little late because it's obviously a work day. And we've got 16 students in 11 states. So do the time zone work on that if you choose. But let's get started. So Caleb is my man behind the wheel tonight. Caleb, hit that. Hit the next one for me. What y'all see? I don't know what you can see.
Let me see if it updated. There we go.
Anthony McCauley, go.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
So, family, this is not meant to feel like church, but because of the 2 years that I've had to like really go down this, if you will, rabbit hole, I am seeing so much alignment to what's in scripture, to what's in our biology books, to what's in the neuroscience. The alignment is no joke. So when y'all see this particular line, I just want to hear from two people. What are you reading? What does that say to you? Make it quick and to the point. What did you just read and what is it saying to you? Anybody but Curtis can respond to this.
words matter.
Okay.
Everything starts with God.
Words matter. Everything starts with God. Somebody build off of one of those thoughts and then I'm gonna move on. Build off of either what Jason said or Anthony said.
I
Build
think it
off
means that I am the word.
Oh, interesting. Awesome. Daniela is in the background taking attendance for the Reachers. Reachers, if you did not take your pre-quiz before you came to class, you're going to get kicked out before Curtis goes. So make sure you use, if you have not seen it in the chat, I'm going to put it or it's on your text message. Reachers only. Make sure you do that quiz before Curtis goes on at 6:45. Thank you. Caleb, that's me and you.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's right.
You got me all worried about this quiz now. I'm like trying to.
I might exempt you from it unless you
Okay.
I might exempt you from it. One
I'm
more.
almost there.
Give me one more. So it looks like we have mentors in the house tonight. It looks like we got reachers in the house tonight and a couple of our guest speakers. So I'm all here to say welcome everybody. This is our very first game of the season. With all the stuff that we are bringing to the table, both personally and professionally, I'm inviting that stuff to this classroom. And I'm hoping that my wishes for today is whatever stuff you got going on personally and professionally outside of this classroom, that you can tell this got to wait until you're done, because you're getting ready to get some information that hopefully by the end of this class, you're gonna feel lighter. My goal is for y'all to feel lighter. Heavier with information, but lighter with worry. So if I reach that, then I'm gonna say yay. So there are gonna be some structured time in here where we're gonna be able to say what we think. And there's gonna be some times in the lesson where we're gonna ask you to keep it to yourself. But all of it is welcome. Thank you, Caleb. Now, two things that I'm gonna say, these next two slides go together. One is my goal is for this to be a 5-star experience for you, personally and professionally, for it to feel like you're at a 5-star hotel getting 5-star PD from your PC, professional development from your personal computer. And I also know, next slide, that if any of the feedback that you're going to leave tonight at the end of the survey falls in any one of these categories, that means because that is an area of opportunity for ACEs Matter. So in other words, it's a gap. Like if you got feedback on my marketing, just know I'm going to receive it and then I'm going to ask you for help. But I do want y'all to leave some feedback at the end because the goal is we are able to identify what is a 5-star professional development, personal development experience feel and look like. And then that way we have a product to sell when we go out there. So we going through it first, knowing that these are the areas that ACEs Matter has gaps in right now. It's a one-woman show with the 16 of y'all. So that's launch. We're on a tight time schedule, 6:16 to 9:01. We're gonna leave out of here. So this is what it's gonna look like. Part 1. Shakita's going to, I'm already over my time. I'm gonna shut up. This is what it's gonna look like. When I shut up, Shakita's gonna take us into meditation for 7 minutes. You can choose to participate how you want there, but that is to try to calm your mind. And then our next guest speakers will come on. So I'm gonna stop there because I want Shakila. I want to turn it over to you, Shakila. Go ahead and hit the next one, Caleb. Part 2, I'll explain that later. But Shakila, I'm gonna go 24. You'll stop me at 24. Caleb, I need somebody to read this in the green, because this is basically what our focus is. And Anthony and Jason both started us off with what they heard with that very first line. Can I get somebody? Oh, Caleb, this is your job.
Okay. Sandra, can you read this slide for us?
The quotes.
Let's raise
Yes, the
children who won't have to recover from their childhoods. Pam Leo.
And then the one right below it too.
Trauma in a person decontextualized over time looks like personality. Trauma in a family decontextualized over time looks like family traits. Trauma in a people decontextualized over time looks like culture. Rasima Minakin.
Yeah, we'll just go with that.
Nice.
Stick with that for a minute. All this is going somewhere before Shakila takes the mic. All this is going somewhere. And next, my hope, I heard this come up. Caleb, you can go to the next one. I heard this come up in y'all Essential Friend Group meetings, some of the ones that I got to watch. After the first season, after the first 90 days, my hope is that you have heard from some of the best speakers that we could possibly line up that will help us with wherever we are with our intrapersonal development. At the end of 90 days, after we've gone through these 3 months, I think you should be able to produce your own undebatable statement based on what you've learned. And like literally that's the assessment. Like, can you take all of this information from 90 days and come up with something so profound, it's worth tweeting and repeating and retweeting? And the other one is that when you come up with your undebatable statement after you have the first 90 days with us, can you get somebody to give you some authentic feedback and like articulate that? That's your homework in 90 days. Next slide. Shakila, you got 7 minutes and it's gonna take us to 6:31 and we'll be on time. And everybody else, I'm guessing mute your mics.
Yes,
Yes,
please.
Sheila? Okay.
Yes, please. And thank you. Can you hear me? Good. Can you all hear me? If I can't see, thumb up if you can hear me.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you can go ahead and cut off your camera if you'd like. I'm going to cut mine off. And I want you to just listen to my voice. Caleb, can you put on that frequency very mildly, please? It just started raining here. And if you can get somewhere comfortable, quiet. I'm keeping up with the time. You can get somewhere comfortable and quiet. You can feel free to close your eyes if you like. And just breathe normal. Now we're going to take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And release. Deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Just keep breathing as I speak. So the number 7 is a prime number. A prime number is a number that can only be divided by itself and the number 1. You are number 1 in this very moment. Our average A score is 7. Hands on heart. Deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And release. Body should feel a little calmer now. I just want you to repeat the word 7, 7, 7. We have 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit, 7 seeds, 7 wonders, 7 days of the week, 7-fold. Keep breathing. Seven years of plenty. 7 years of plenty. 7 years of plenty. Deep breath. And release. 7 is the number of completion. Count 7 blessings. 7 things you're grateful for. Several new opportunities. 7 people you can call on. We are already complete. You are enough. Just as you are. You are complete. You are whole. You are grounded. In the midst of a storm. This is why we meditate. Calms our nervous system. It aligns us. Allows us the opportunity to hug our emotions. You are already enough. You are complete. Deep breath in through your nose. And repeat, I am enough as you exhale. Deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Repeat, I am already enough. I am complete. We seal this meditation with Ashe, Namaste, Amen. So it is, and so let it be. Thank you for sharing time and space with me. And it is always my hope that our time together has helped lighten your load in some way. You can just breathe. We have 1 more minute. Quiet, serenity, of bliss, of gratitude, love, fortitude, growth, collaboration, abundance, prosperity. 42 more seconds of all the good in heaven. You can open your eyes slowly. Thank you.
Go ahead, Caleb.
It's fighting me right now. One
It's
moment.
fighting. Maybe because I messed with something. Hey, y'all, how did Shaquila's words make you feel? Drop in the comments if you're able. How did Shaquila's words at 7 minutes make you feel right now? What's up, Derek Benson? Calm, peaceful, fine. Sandra Golden, would you mind reading that one more time for us? What you see on the screen?
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Keisha Mason Campbell, what did you take from that? What do you hear when you hear that?
Hello, Cindy. When I hear that, it makes me feel like God's word is everything. What he is trying to get through and to us, he's doing it through his words. And if we were to listen and to read his word, it would manifest through us.
Thank you, Keisha Mason Campbell. Caleb, go ahead.
For what this means for me,
Yes.
it's power in the word. Like when we think about God and all of the power, it's like we come back to the core of it, and it's like through word is the power of God.
Thank you, Caleb. I just reshared it with you. So before we begin, I'm gonna try to get us back on schedule. Does it let you split? Okay, cool. This is a 2.5 minute video that I'm gonna ask y'all to see if how you felt about what we just read changes after you hear this lady speaking on it.
In the beginning was the Word,
Can y'all hear the sound?
and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Theologians have interpreted this passage and all passages in the Bible differently, but I'm not a theologian. I'm a sheologian. What it says to me is that the miracle of speech Our words are what allow us to conceive of God. So what you gonna do with your words? Your God-given superpower of verbal and written communication. They say history is written by the winners, but that's a lie. History is written by people who can read. That's why your voice is so vital. So long suppressed, you now have the power, the ability, and the access to make your voice heard and make history. Each one of us can now use our words to tell our stories to people all over the world that we'll never even meet. From the comfort of your home, you can now share thoughts, dreams, concepts, ideas with people comfortable where they are, who are endowed with the same God-given superpower as you. Each of us not only has a story, we have a library of stories, an encyclopedia of stories. Like the Bible, one book can be a collection of books, just as one life can be a collection of stories. So use your voice. You matter. I am my ancestors' hopes, and they've given me the gift and the responsibility to use my voice to tell you to use yours. Be the book of you, because in the beginning was the Word.
Anybody recognize that person?
Yes.
Tell me.
Remember
Tell me.
the court show,
Right,
Marsha
yeah, she was
Warfield.
the bailiff.
Yeah, Marsha Warfield.
Yeah.
Marsha Warfield. So interestingly enough about Miss Marsha Warfield, she was a staple on our TV screen growing up. And I remember her being one of the first Black faces that felt like powerful for me as a young lady. And because our whole class is about words and how we use them, some of the things that we are in business to do, ACEs, Matter Reachers, is to break generational misunderstandings of what it means to raise an emotionally healthy and an emotionally intelligent child. And many of us come from cultures where it was fun to pick on people, where we all had nicknames that our families might have given us because of some abnormal, I need a word. I ain't have no hair growing up. Like my nickname was Chicken Head because for whatever reason, I just wasn't blessed with the extra hair. So I got teased a lot. I had a lot of nicknames. So I wanted to show this quick clip because I think one of the things that Marsha helped us do is to find laughter in some of the things that we now know we need to not do as a culture anymore, especially if we want to raise confident kids. So stay with me. This is great. You guys see The Color Purple? It's a good movie, right? I've never seen so many ugly Black people in one place. No wonder they were depressed. You'd be depressed too if somebody came to your house and said, "You sure is ugly." Y'all are right. That was Miss Marsha Warfield. Her name was Roz, and she has so graciously agreed to join us and inspire us with her words today before we leave to go on our journey to use our words to inspire people. So for those of y'all that may not be familiar with Miss Marsha Warfield, if you were a Gen X or a Gen Y, it's going to be real familiar to you. But if not, Miss Warfield not only did Night Court, for many of us may remember her from Night Court, but she's also had several television appearances outside of that. Anybody else? I'm gonna read her bio exactly as it reads, but is there anybody else that wants to share something that they know about Marsha Warfield outside of Night Court?
Hello.
Hi, Miss Marsha, can you hear us?
Not really well. Hold on a minute. I'm trying.
You take your
Fine,
time. You are our guest. So after a long period of retirement, Marsha is back for revenge, tackling issues including politics, being Black, coming out as a gay woman, and her affair with pizza. We all love pizza. Marsha Warfield is best known for her 1986 through 1992 role on the tough, no-nonsense bailiff Roz Russell on the NBC sitcom Night Court. She also starred in the sitcom Empty Nest as Dr. Maxine Douglas and a performer on The Richard Pryor Show. She has appeared on shows like Soul Train, The Arsenio Hall Show, The Tonight Show, and even had a talk show of her own appropriately titled The Marsha Warfield Show. She's open for acts like Esther Phillips, George Duke, Teddy Pendergrass, the OJs, and George Carlin. She's been nominated for NAACP Awards, Soul Train Awards, and was featured in a Gladys Knight video, Men. Her guest appearances include Sybil, The John Larquette Show, Veronica's Closet, Moesha was also one of mine, Living Single, In Living Color, Smart Guy, Clueless, Cheers, Saved by the Bell, so on and so on and so on. Y'all, round of applause. Welcome, Miss Marsha.
Hello, can you see me?
We can see you. Caleb,
Okay,
can we
good.
spotlight her? Is there a way to spotlight it? Okay.
Already done.
All right, I see me now.
Yay, let's go, Miss Marsha. Miss Marsha,
Okay.
that was
Yes.
a lot of places where you shared your words. What advice you gonna leave us with today, knowing what we know about raising mentally healthy children? What advice can you leave for us today?
Spoil them. Spoil your children. Treat them like they're special. I find the whole concept that children should be regimented and made to obey, and the most important thing is discipline. I find that very damaging and curious. Children are exuberant. They're curious. They're so quick. They pick up on everything, and if they know they're loved and cared for, they can do just about anything. But if they feel like they're not, then it's hard for them to do anything.
Sit with that. I know they dying to ask you questions, but I ain't gonna even let them because I know you got a show tonight. She got a show tonight and she just stopped by because she's got a performance to do, but I really appreciate it. I have one more for you. So
Okay.
you're getting ready to go open our mouths and we're going to use words. And as me and your agent have been talking, I shared with her that there's 16 young adults. We range in age from our late 20s to our early 60s. And so we have lots of different experiences from our childhood and upbringing. And we're ready to like let the cat out the bag and say there were some things that we think the next generation should do differently, as you've left us with. So as we get ready to go out and open our mouths, we're going to have cameras and microphones pointed on us. What advice would you give us?
I think that the word, one of the earliest means of entertainment and communication was speech. Before that, it wasn't the first. Before that, people made hand gestures, they danced, they grunted, they played drums, they did other things to communicate. But speech has been attributed to sanctity and godliness since the beginning. The ancient god Thoth was the god of writing. He was made a god. He was a human. He was made a god because he gave people the gift of communication. And John 1:1 says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, which is open to a lot of interpretation, but it tells you how sacred and powerful the written word is. And the person who controls the narrative is the one who has the power. And part of the reason, in fact, a large part of the reason Black people are seen the way we are is because of the relentless onslaught, the campaign, the mental abuse campaign of things like minstrelsy and blackface and the kinds of entertainment that demean and make fun of and mock. And it's a very curious thing that a whole institution, government system would insist on mocking a group of people to the extent that they've done Black people. I work with the Jim Crow Museum in Big Rapids at Ferris State University, and they have collected all of these really horrible images that people collect and pay a lot of money for that exist simply to mock Black people. And when you combine that with the education system and the things that people don't want to teach, you come out with a very negative narrative. But now that we have learned to read, Black people are taking control of their own narrative. And this is probably not only how the revolution starts, it probably is the revolution, because those words, those sacred words that make up the narrative, have been sacred since the days of griots and scribes and priests and scholars who initially gave people the gift of being able to envision and communicate their visions of God and of each other. So use your words. Your story is your story. There are no perfect people. Nobody is better than anybody at using their words, and nobody can use your words but you. And all of those, history is written by people who can read. They lie and say it's people who win, but people who win are the people who can control the narrative. So control your narrative, tell your story. It's important. We need to hear it. People need to find it. History is diaries. History is not just books written by scholars, tomes, their communications, their emails, all of that. Use your voice, speak out, control your narrative. That's the biggest problem, I think, that we as Black people face.
The silence is good, Marsha. If you hear us quiet, it's for me, it's good.
I was waiting for the applause, but then it's in my head anyway, so I don't mind.
I love it. Okay, one joke. Anything? Can you close this up with a joke? I know that wasn't in the agreement, but anything you can leave us with?
I thought I just did. I'm confused, but no, I ain't got no jokes right now.
All right, better than an applause. What we're going to do is one word that you would use to describe the emotion that Marsha is leaving us with before she goes on to her show. Chat one word that's coming to mind for you after Miss Marsha's words of encouragement.
Me?
No, everybody else. This is everybody.
Oh, okay.
I think I lost you after the screen moved around, so I apologize.
All right.
Marsha, you left people with alignment, powerful, wisdom, energy, motivation, power, empowered. It came up. Speed, clarity. Ooh, from New York, they said you left them with a voice. And Florida said in quotation or that little thing, that part. So thank you.
Well,
thank you.
if I could leave you with the word, I would say celebrate. We have so much to celebrate, and it's rarely acknowledged. We have such a rich culture. We have exported it around the world. People around the world emulate the culture that we create, and it's all from the ground up. You know, they made I don't know how you say it, but they made something out of nothing. We've been doing that forever, and we need to celebrate that. And your aunties and uncles and papa and mama and all them people deserve a round of applause. And they're there for you to give you yours when you need it.
I'm grateful. Drop a heart, a reaction if y'all are grateful. And Marsha, thank you. You're more than welcome to hang out with us. And I'm going to tell her, Erlene's texting me like, make sure I get the video. And I was like, I will send you the video as soon as we're done. Thank you.
Can I just say something really fast?
Who is this that came in here talking about?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm a big fan of Marsha's. I love your night court. Oh my gosh.
Hello, how are you?
I'm listening. So I'm just a big fan. I'm a big fan. My mom is too. I watched you on night court all my life.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that a lot to me.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
No, you ain't. It's okay. You ain't sorry at all.
Okay, thank you.
Look, Marsha, she knew the rules and she's like, I'm breaking it. It's worth it. I am breaking the rules.
That's all right. That's how you get things done. You know, I was taught as women, as Black people, there's a lot of people that mind your manners, don't speak up, don't say nothing. That's bunk. Speak out. Be the sapphire they accuse you of being. Grab that sapphire spirit, rock your neck and say, it ain't gonna be like that. Be the Fannie Lou Hamer. Say, I didn't come here for no two seats. Stand up, say it, do it. I'm all for it. I got your back, whatever that means.
2 heartbeats from Florida, Miss Marsha, 2 heartbeats. And have a great show tonight. I know you will, because you're gonna have us laughing for the rest of our days here on earth. So we love you.
I hope so. I hope so. That's my mission. And you know, I'm behind you and yours.
Yes, thank you, Miss Marsha.
All right, y'all take care.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stay as long as you like. All right, y'all. I'm hoping you feel inspired. We got some Hollywood up in here encouraging us to use our words. So next thing, Caleb, do you know if you have access yet? Or should I try to keep going? Oh yeah. All right, real quick. In this meeting, there are people who are going to take the role of L's. And then in this meeting, if you're a reacher, this is for reachers, and Keisha as well, because Keisha's going to be one of hopefully our prospects. I can convince her to join us. But go ahead and hit the next one, Caleb. In the next part of this lesson, this is where Curtis is going to be listening to you guys discuss a topic, okay? In the background, Curtis is going to be observing, and then we'll get a full 15 minutes with Curtis, and if we're lucky, maybe 25, because we're a little bit off schedule. But just so we're clear, what's going to happen in the next couple of slides, you're going to see something that I called an undebatable statement. If you had a chance to read the playbook, then you have a pretty good understanding of what an undebatable statement means. That's our personal opinion that we can say is backed by data, but we're going to give it to you and allow you to debate our personal undebatable statement. It'll be followed by a couple of data points in the slide that come after it. And then there'll be what I consider to be supporting evidence to that very first statement. If you are, go ahead and hit the next one, Caleb. If you are a listener during the time where reachers get in a circle, whoever's on camera right now, or whoever's listening, if you're under the listener column, your role during the reacher discussion is just to take notes and listen. That's part A. So for those of y'all that are going to be listeners in Curtis's round, that's your job. Listen, take notes. Even if you really want to say something, your job is to listen. If you are a responder, we're going to actually be listening to y'all talk about everything that just happened prior to the undebatable statement, the supporting evidence, and then the profound data point that came up. So we're going to we just want y'all's opinion. You're going to just talk about it, like a conversation at a coffee table, whatever. So does everybody have a good idea of what role you're going to play before Curtis comes on? When we get to Matt, who's also on the call, he joined in a little bit earlier. Matt Perlstein is going to talk to us about emotional intelligence. So when we get to Matt's time during our Grapple with the Apple section, we're going to flip roles. So if you were a listener this time, then you'll be a responder the next time. Make sense? All right, I got a call coming in, which I should not. All right, next slide, Caleb. Do not disturb. So he has been listening to us since 6:16 p.m., but he's not going to speak yet. He's just a listener tonight for right now. Curtis Childs. Interestingly enough, there's a guy in our Zoom call right now. His name is Derek Vinson, if y'all can see his name on the screen. Derek was at a conference back in May where Shakila and I were also at the same conference that was about consciousness and just spiritual awakening and a whole bunch of stuff. And Derek and I were having a conversation, and we were talking about how profound Curtis Childs' presentation was at this event. Curtis was a keynote guest speaker at this particular event, and he left us with some of the most profound thoughts. I'm not going to spoil it, but one of them I use on people today, and it's still moves people. So Derek, on my behalf and Shakila's behalf, he went up to Curtis. He was like, "Hey, those ladies want to meet you." He just did it. Y'all know back in middle school when they would say, "Hey, she like you. You want to go talk?" He did us like that. He handled us like that, and it paid off. It paid off because now Curtis is here with us. So Curtis left me with an undebatable statement to give y'all to grapple with. And based on what I saw Curtis say in May back in at that conference, he left me with something that inspired how I see words. Okay, so the first thing, Curtis shared with me that one of the things that he would proudly debate is that the greatest joy comes from being useful. So responders, when y'all get ready to get into this circle, y'all are going to talk a little bit about this statement plus some supporting evidence. Just make it a conversation. I'm going to throw my personal belief in based on what Curtis said. And I'm not saying Curtis endorses this or not. He can add to it if he decides. But some of the things that these last 2 years has left me with is that heaven and hell become states of mind turned into action or inaction. Like going back to the words we allow to take up real estate in our head. And so that has been a part of my learning journey that I'm giving y'all permission to grapple with. Any questions about the undebatable statement? This is our first time doing it. Doesn't look like it. Next slide, Caleb. Profound data points. Caleb, this is your job. I'm not going to take this one from you.
Okay. You want me to read it?
You can, and then volunteer the other two people after that.
Okay. Emotional neglect. Definition of neglect. Child emotional neglect is the parent's failure to meet their child's emotional needs during the early years. It involves unresponsive, unavailable, and limited emotional interactions between that person and the child. Children's emotional needs for affection, support, attention, or competence are ignored. Emotional neglect is often transgenerational. Parents who have experienced a lack of nurturing in childhood from their own parents tend to adopt similar parenting styles when raising their own children. Oh. Is that 2 in or is that 1 in?
1. Just, I need somebody to do that next one. And that was my fault because I moved my mouse. I'm sorry.
My bad. Ruth, could you read this one for us?
Sure. Amygdala is the part of the brain responsible for learning emotional significance. It affects arousal reaction to environmental stimuli. When a child experiences severe forms of child emotional neglect during early brain development, such as institutional rearing, the amygdala becomes bigger in volume and more reactive. As a result, individuals raised by neglectful parents tend to have worse mental health outcomes and long-term effects. The cost of negative thinking. Negativity costs the US economy between $250 and $300 billion every year in lost productivity, according to the Gallup organization. And this number is conservative since it doesn't take into account the ripple effect of complaining and negativity.
Wonderful, thank you.
My question in the chat before we hit play, I think this is a video we're going to hit play on shortly, Caleb. But before we do that, in the chat, can you think of somebody that falls into the categories of those data points? Just drop it in the chat. Can you think it's a yes or a no? And even if it's you, it's a yes or no. Can you think of somebody that may not have got the need like this in childhood? Next slide, Caleb. Now, let's welcome our guests. This is the part where we're going to give you some supporting evidence. So I may cut the video short just because of time. Curtis, I had you starting right with us at 7. If we happen to go to 7:05 where you actually start talking, would that be okay?
Yeah, that's totally fine. I can stay as long as you need.
Oh, okay, great. So in this case, y'all gonna get a double dose of Curtis, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and hit play. This is about a 10-minute video. So do what you need, stretch, take notes if you choose, because this will be what the responders dialogue about when the video is over. And then the listeners, you guys get to write your thoughts about it. Make sense? Go ahead and get to stretch. Choose to leave your camera on or off. It's up to you. This experience will be everything that you make of it. All right, go ahead, Caleb.
Curtis Childs is the director and host of Off the Left Eye, a Swedenborg Foundation. While obtaining his degree in communication studies from Oakland University, Curtis experienced an internal battle with depression that led him to question God and his lifelong interest in Swedenborgian theology. After a period of intense suffering, he recovered from his depression with the help of modern medicine, therapy, and a return of the spiritually uplifting messages found in Swedenborg's writings. Now, Curtis is applying his education and desire to help others find peace through Swedenborg's insights by producing and hosting this weekly webcast. He's happiest when he can use Swedenborg's concepts to help someone solve something they used to think was unsolvable. Curtis helps us understand things in the Bible and about the spirit world that are often beyond our grasp based on Swedenborg studies. In his program and in this interview, he makes these difficult concepts easier. Curtis has appeared on many international radio shows, podcasts, and YouTube shows, such as Talk Gnosis, Sunday Morning Spiritual, and The Butterfly Moment, Dark 30 Radio, We Don't Die Radio, and has been a keynote speaker at several conferences, including the Conference for Consciousness and Human Evolution and the International Association for Near-Death Studies. Please welcome subject matter expert, Mr. Curtis Childs, to the Aphis Matter Reader Residency class.
This dying on the cross is the ultimate example of a process that all of us go through in our lives. We have these things throughout our lives that are called spiritual crises. And you'd probably just be saying that. Plenty of people are saying, oh yeah, I've had that. So this is a time when a lot of things collapse and you find yourself in a dark night of the soul of some kind. It can be that it's triggered by physical things that are happening, things with money or relationships or something, or it can be just mental and spiritual. The thing that ties it all together is you come into this state of despair and overwhelm where you just feel like I don't know how I'm going to survive this. I don't know what I'm going to do. Usually those points, or hitting bottom, sometimes we would call it, those points are when people get serious about God and needing help. Usually when there's somebody who's really really believes that there's God and is looking at that constantly in their life, there's some backstory of some really hard time that they went through. So there's these spiritual crises that form or do a crucial part of our spiritual growth. You can't really grow without them. When you're in these spiritual crises, what happens is your ego world breaks down enough that you're willing to let go of some things. And also it's when you need these truths that you know, and the idea of God and all the promises of religion, you need those so much that you have to reach out to them and they become real to you. Then you also you can develop an aversion to the negative things you usually hold on to. I know that when everything's going fine for me, whatever, I don't care that much about the bad habits I have or ways that I treat people. But when I'm really suffering, I understand, I don't want anyone to go through. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. So there's that process that we go through, and Jesus' temptation on the cross was the ultimate spiritual crisis, because what we're doing in spiritual crises is what's happening under the hood is it's heaven and hell fighting over us. So hell, which is trying to get us to choose hell, and heaven, which is trying to get us to choose heaven, are both trying to claim that. And with Jesus, the setting in which he came in was that hell had grown so powerful because every single person that chooses hell, chooses the enjoyment of doing things that are harmful, adds to hell. And so many people were choosing that the whole equilibrium, or the environment that we live in, was going to become so skewed toward hell that we would all lose in our own little spiritual crisis. So the whole human race was going to die. And so Jesus coming in was to battle all the hells, and not battle them like he didn't go kill them, because the hell, they're made out of people. And Jesus loves everybody, but still has to I'm going to sort this out, get these people out of here, and rebuff and shed all of the stuff that was it. He basically took on the battles that the whole human race was facing, and he did them. And Swedenborg says that it wasn't just the cross or the temptation in the desert. It was throughout his whole life. He was going through these, and the cross was the final one where it got to its worst. He was facing the darkest part of hell, and in that, by not only going through it, but not turning in, not hating and doing what hell does himself. He says, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. That's what we see on the surface. There was this incredible spiritual complexity happening behind it, but somehow through that, in the period just after, the whole spiritual world, like the heaven and hell, everything got changed in a huge way, and it created this entire new future for the human race, because somehow him doing that made it so that each of us now can by the same path, be rescued from hell and brought into heaven. So it was like there are some similarities between it. It's a really important moment. He was taking on things for the human race, but the bad guy in it wasn't God. The bad guy was hell, and the way that it's trying to make all of us act like demons rather than act like angels. And he was giving us a new way, and a lot, like, you and I wouldn't be here if he hadn't done that. To go to heaven, what we have to do is allow ourselves to be regenerated, which is a process where God is replacing our self-centeredness and materialism, our love of hell, with a love for heaven. And this is a process that God is trying to do throughout our entire lives, but can't do unless we practice repentance, which is, Swedenborg describes the process as, it starts with a self-examination. So, and it's not a really intensive, you won't measure up. It's actually a fairly mild, simple process. He says, just on occasion, look at yourself and think, what kind of things am I trying to do, or do I like doing, or am I doing that I really know I shouldn't be? And pick one of those and ask God to take it out of you. And then whenever the opportunity comes up to do it or enjoy it, you say, well, I want to do that, but I'm not going to, because that's not what I should do. It's not what God would want me to do. That sounds simple, but it's an incredibly powerful process. Actually, that's really the bulk of our task, is to shun things that are against the 10 Commandments. And there's a spiritual meaning to each of the 10 Commandments, which expands it. For example, the you shall not kill commandment. There's on a natural level, yes, you can't go around killing people. But spiritually, the things that are contained within that commandment, it also applies to hatred. That if you hate somebody, there's an intent to kill them in your spirit. Even if you wouldn't say, I wouldn't kill them because I get in so much trouble. And that's like, I don't do, but hatred is something that you could be looking at and saying, am I holding on hatred against this person who's my angel?
Abrupt stop, but welcome back.
Did it skip?
It did not. It was supposed to end at like 7 minutes, but I'm not going to worry about that. Okay. Let's pull it. Let's pull up from here, and this is where the L's and the R's. I'm going to put the timer on to. I'm going to give y'all a good 12 minutes to dialogue about this. I'm going to give y'all a good 12 minutes to dialogue about this, and I'll be fine. And we'll let Curtis come in. So let's do 12 to 15 minutes. I'm going to stop. Do y'all remember which groups you're in? If you are willing, please come off of your camera if you're a responder. Responders, I'm turning this over to you. And everybody else that is not responding, we're going to mute our microphones, and we would love for you guys to add your thoughts to the things that we just heard from Curtis, the profound data points, and the undebatable statement.
It was a lot of information, I guess. You're talking about the emotional childhood neglect, and also the video that we just watched. We're supposed to just kind of like talk about that and bounce off of wherever we're going, right?
You're gonna thank you, Ruby. I think that's you for clarifying. So the summation of everything that we just watched, what emotional neglect does to us, plus what Curtis's opinions or research studies on what he shared about heaven and hell. So I'm curious to hear you all talk about what does it mean to you when you see the greatest joy comes from being useful?
That reminds me of the assignment that we had. The video that you showed us, was it the Neen documentary? Was that her name?
That is, but hold on, I'm out of the conversation. I do not participate. So if y'all got questions, bounce them off of each other. Okay, so this is just the responders. I'm not here. It's just the responders. Listeners, y'all take notes.
Well, that reminds me of the Neen documentary. Like she needed to feel like she was doing something for her mother that made her feel loved. And when her mother would kind of go the other way with it and not so much about what was happening to her, she still would go back when her mother needed her, because that was where her joy came from.
Yeah, I think it definitely, that reminds me too of, I think like heaven and hell also sort of are that, and with religion can be like that unconditional love, or that guide, or that guidance, that maybe for some people, if you've had emotional neglect and you don't have active parents in your life, that religion and having that guide, or having those feelings of that unconditional love that Jesus, has the ultimate like ability to give you, can help. And that maybe that's like the parent, like I don't know,
like a
like
moral
the parent
compass.
role. Yeah, the moral compass, that if you don't have a solid ground, in your family,
Yeah,
or some people do in tandem have it with their family, and they can use it together as well to
but you
help guide
have
them.
those, you have those children who do have parents in their lives. It's just that because of what the parents, it's that cycle, is because of what the parents have gone through, what they know to do, and how to project love onto that child. It continues the pattern. As an example, with me, I had very active parents in my life, but my parents were not able to show that type of love. They weren't that touchy feely type person. They weren't the type that would just walk up to you and say, I love you, you matter. So I think that plays a big part in it too. Where Christianity comes in, I think with the heaven and the hell part, is trying to show you that if you choose heaven, that it's a better place. It's a bright light. It's a place of joy. Whereas hell is, you're going to be in there burning, because they're always saying, there's fire there. So it's, do you want to burn constantly, or do you want to enjoy life with streets paved of gold? And so I think it's trying to make you choose the better, which is heaven, opposed to hell.
Yeah, and I guess I liked how he was sort of like reflective on it, in making
Right.
it also being like, we have a choice between heaven and hell kind of like every day,
Yeah, with every
with
choice we make.
every choice, and
Right.
like being reflective on those
Right.
choices, and that some of those things that don't serve us, if we're choosing, if we don't take that time to reflect and make different choices, then we're kind of stuck in our own personal hell, maybe.
Yeah, every day is an opportunity to, as he put it, repent, in order to have that opportunity that you speak of, to get it right, another opportunity to get it right, so that we can stay closer to heaven than we would hell.
It kind of goes back to our Reacher episode we did on Sunday. Heaven and hell is kind of like your moral compass, how you have every decision to make, whether you're doing something for the good or for the bad of the situation. I don't remember the wording I used on Sunday. I'm still a little hazy, but in a nutshell, we need to, it's like what was it, the cancel culture, what I said, we need time to learn from our mistakes. So if we can't learn from our mistakes, we're doomed to live in that hell and repeat it. It's never gonna get better, because we're gonna dwell in that hell for a while, until we're able to learn from our mistakes and get over that.
Yeah, sort of like what he said when he said that, when you decide, I'm not going to do that anymore, this is what I want to do, and that opportunity comes up again for you to do the bad choice, because you've repented and you've made that conscious decision that was a poor choice last time. I've said I'm not going to do it, so this time I'm going to take the opposite path, which should lead me to a better outcome than it did before.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone else, I guess I was just thinking also like, like the death and rebirth, and that we have the ability to, like, I know that a lot of times, like, the reference is made, that Jesus did that already for you, so you don't have to, but in a small kind of way, we can kind of like, decide that version of ourselves is no longer serving us and no longer serving this life towards this path that I want. So I'm going to sort of, cancel out. I mean, I guess, not necessarily cancel out, but like restart in a way and be reborn as with a new way of being, or a new mindset. I guess in a metaphorical kind of way, if you can kind of look at religion and, or Christianity in that kind of way, to sort of help get through some of that decision making. Balling.
Something to be mindful of.
Yeah, or just I don't know. I it's a little, maybe a little off topic. I think like in the like we're surrounded by heaven every day if we just give ourselves a chance to see it, and we're also surrounded by hell every day too. We want to see too. You can see either or.
It's true. That's true.
It's all in
You
the
just have to
perspective
make
of the
that
moment.
Yeah, you just have to take every opportunity that you get and determine how you're going to work it. Are you going to work it for evil, or are you going to work it for good? So the
And you
choice is
can't make
ours
it to
every
heaven
day.
unless you went through a little bit of hell.
Now that's true too, and I think all of us here have gone through a little bit of hell in our experiences with ACEs. So
yeah.
now
Anyone
we have
else?
the opportunity to make a difference.
Yeah, this brought up a lot for me, like in a lot of ways, but I guess what it brings up, like I don't know, there was like I guess kind of a juxtaposition in my childhood where I was like severely abused. Everything was like I couldn't ever do anything right. But then I also like, my mother would tell me that she loved me, give me hugs and stuff like that. So it was like really, I guess, looking back on it, really confusing. And I found myself taking care of others, like taking care of my mother so that, I wouldn't get in trouble, and going into my adult life, taking care of other people before I took care of myself, always, and doing for others. And so, like the part about being useful, like I guess in this moment, it reminds me that I need to take care of myself as well as, the work that I do to support other people. Yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you see the little bit of heaven and the hell you went through.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh, sorry, we just had some big thunder there. Not sure if you guys could hear that.
Just a little bit.
It was right on cue.
Yeah, and I'm in Florida and I'm just waiting for
Yeah, I got it over here too.
It'll be over my way soon. Any closing thoughts before we give Curtis the microphone? Any final thoughts before I turn the microphone over to Curtis? Respond.
Heaven is what you make it.
Okay, heaven is what you make it. Okay, thank y'all. Thank y'all responders for joining. And then the way I'm gonna flip it a little bit when I'm just gonna give Curtis the microphone. Curtis is allowed to build off of what y'all said, build off of what we watched, give us something totally new. The only caveat that I have when Curtis is speaking, if you have questions, drop them in the chat first. Just because we want to make sure that we're doing more listening than speaking. So questions in the chat first, and then listeners. Since you guys had to sit and like listen this last time, you guys would get first priority on it if there's time for us to hear from Curtis. Okay, so listeners, y'all have a question for Curtis, you guys get first priority in the chat. Preguntas? Cool, here we go. Curtis, thank you for being here with us, and you have the microphone.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me. I already feel like I got I got to do a meditation. I got to see a celebrity give us a little talk. And I got to hear everyone's amazing thoughts on that content. I already feel like I'm getting a great night out of this. So thank you, everyone. What I want to do is just, I've been taking notes on everything everyone was saying, and there's a couple of reactions I want to share, and I would love to, yeah, put anything in the chat that you want to. I'd love to continue that conversation with you. I feel like I was hearing everybody speaking from their heaven. So heaven and hell being in the mind and being states of mind. I mean, this is something that's an idea that has been so incredibly helpful for me. And, you know, ever since I was young and having to navigate difficult things in life, you know, when I was 6, my sister died in a car accident. And I feel like at that point, I didn't really know what is life even, where do you go, and what's the point of all of it. I remember saying when I was little, like, what's the point? And it's really been this idea that there's heaven and hell, and like you said, there's heaven all around us, and that you can try to access that. That's really powerful. I think people saying that heaven can be part of your moral compass. You can look at decisions and say, how can I bring heaven into this space here? And particularly an idea that stuck with me is that heaven and hell have to do with different kinds of enjoyment. So there's enjoyment in doing what's useful, like we were talking about, and doing something that helps people, but there's also enjoyment in, you know, making fun of somebody, tearing somebody down, trying to feel powerful over somebody. So it's a choice between those two kinds of enjoyments. And as I was listening to people talking about the effects that things they experienced when they were younger had on them, it makes me think about, I have my daughter who is 6 now, and I just think about, yeah, wow, if I really have to keep in mind how useful being kind to her is, because I just think about if you know, even your parents or someone could hear, you know, this far down the line, the impact those actions had. The more we understand how much what we do to each other or don't do to each other matters, the more you can find that joy in being useful. Because you really, unless you understand, oh, sorry, I just lost my little light. It's got like a suction cup, but it gave out. Unless you understand what you're doing, the good that you're doing, it's really hard to stay motivated to do it. I feel like this is even because if you don't understand the impact you have, it's harder to connect with that. That's why even when, for example, I'm making videos on YouTube, we do that a lot. When people write in and say, oh, this really helped me with this, that is a motivation for me to keep going. And hearing all of you talk about what mattered to you when you were little, it makes me think, oh yeah, I can try to do this, you know, for my child and make sure that I'm there for it. I loved what people said about how we need to be able to learn from our mistakes. Freedom, that only you can choose between heaven and hell, but you can only choose really in a meaningful way if you're in freedom to do so. So if somebody's telling you, you have to do this, and if you don't do this, you get a punishment, you might do it, but you're not doing it out of love. Like, not doing it out of love for that thing. And only like what you do out of love for something really becomes a part of you. So we do need to give people, instead of berating them and punishing them, you got to set limits and things. But overall, if we can forgive, that gives people a chance to do the right thing because they really understand. I don't want to hurt people anymore. I do want to do what's right. And that's ultimately lasting and more powerful. And I said, I heard each of you talking out of your heaven, because if heaven is a state of mind that's built around the joy of doing what's useful, which I really believe it is, that's kind of the fundamental joy of heaven, is I'm doing something that helps you. Somebody right at the beginning said, you guys watched a documentary about someone who needed to feel like they were helping their mother, that made a difference. And I know so many people who, you know, let's say that I just was talking with somebody who is it was getting older, and was feeling like, oh, people just need to take care of me. Like I don't feel useful, and that was getting them down. But them being reminded that actually you're giving all those people an opportunity to help you. And because that's a great gift to give, because if the greatest joy in life comes out of being useful, there's two sides to how wonderful a human being is. One is all the things that we can do. We have this amazing capacity to solve problems and figure out solutions and extend gratitude. But also we're so needy. We need so much help. And before I'd kind of seen that as a flaw in myself. Like I've always struggled with anxiety and depression, and I had obsessive compulsive disorder and a couple of things. I thought, like, why am I so messed up? Like, why I knew I'd had a couple of events, but it's like, oh, I'm so fragile. That's a big flaw. But understanding that is allowing other people to be useful, because we all are good at some things and need help in other ways. Unites humanity. That's what creates heaven, is not just the giving of love and the doing of good things, but the receiving as well. And I know someone was talking about feeling like, well, I always give and I need to have this foundation. And that's absolutely true. I think that just because the greatest joy in life can come from being useful, but you can't be in that joy unless you do the use to yourself of making it so you're there to be useful. So if you just think, I'm just going to give, but not care for myself, well, pretty soon you're going to be burnt out, and you're not going to be able to in a state to help everyone. I'm not trying to say don't ever do something for yourself. Don't go get ice cream. Don't go on vacation. All that stuff is great, can be really great. It's just about overall, what are we doing? What's the big picture? I can say, I'm going to go and spend some time doing something that I enjoy. The overall, though, the point of my life is not just, I'm going to see if I can get as much stuff that I enjoy as possible. Overall, I want to make the world a better place. Sometimes what making the world a better place is me taking care of myself so that I get recharged and rejuvenated, can go back and go to work or go to my family or do whatever I need to do. So, there's always opportunities when we're talking about spiritual kind of things for guilt, but it's not about that. It's about overall, what are we going for? Surrounded by heaven or hell every day. And I think you see it in the different ways, as we were all saying, that you can respond to any situation. I can sometimes have to remind myself, I write myself little notes that say, remember this. I have a note on my wrist right now, my watch, that says, you don't have reflux. Because 2 years ago, I had this really bad acid reflux. I don't know if you guys have had that, but I had it was called GERD, where you get it really intensely. It was right like when the pandemic was starting and everything was really stressful. And I couldn't sleep. Like I'd be up all night with this burning. And I remember just walking around to try to get it to go down at 4 a.m. and just like walking around my neighborhood. And I remember in that moment feeling like, oh, you know what? All that I want to do is I want this to get better so I can be like a dad and be a husband, and all my sort of like selfish ambitions and all this stuff was like, oh, that stuff is not important. So that was a couple of years ago. I got better, but I sometimes forget, and I get wrapped up in these cares about the world. So I wrote this note that's like, hey, remember before? You wanted just a regular. I remember having this moment in the car of like, all I want is my regular life back. So you got to stop and remember that you have that. There's always good stuff in life, and the heaven mindset is looking at what is good. Now, I don't stay in that mindset all the time, and I don't think it's realistic that we do it, because I think we just have these different parts of ourselves, and life can be really difficult. And as I said in that interview, and the tough stuff is part of how you grow. It's just like if you're going to build muscles, if you're going to exercise, there's a period where it's not comfortable, and that's the only way that you get healthier. So I'm not trying to say, oh yeah, if you just be spiritual and think right and everything will be fine. It's more about having a bit of hope to pull you through when you're in those really dark periods, and then when things are good, remembering that they're good, because it's so easy to forget that. So yeah, those were the first reactions that I had to what you were all saying. I think you thought about it really deeply. I really feel grateful for the insights that you had. I would just to summarize say that, yeah, there's heaven and hell, and that sounds dramatic and religious, but what I think it is it's always the choice between the joy of serving other people, or it's the joy of taking from other people or using other people. And we have a chance to look at, and I think what we can trust, why I wanted to do that quote is that sometimes we think, oh, either we can have happiness or we can be nice. Which one are we going to be? But knowing that, and I've seen little glimpses of it, that the greatest joy in life comes from being useful, then you can trust that and trust moving towards it. And it helps me to look for it. It helps me to look for that joy in being useful. It's kind of like you're out in a garden and you've got all these plants, but you don't know which one of these is going to grow into a tree and which one is just going to die at the end of this year. Then I try to notice when I get excited about the impact that I had. And I think this group in particular, having all been through really difficult things, you would have this really developed sense of how much impact people can have on each other. So that I feel like every time that I have something negative happen to me, I come out of it thinking like, yeah, as I said in the interview, I don't want anyone to go through that. And I really know that it matters. So I think when all of you see a child being treated well, you understand what that means more than anybody. So I just am grateful to get to hear from all of you and your wisdom on that. And thank you for doing all the work that you're doing to bring heaven, do what I see as bringing heaven to all these situations that you're in and everywhere you go in the world. So those are my initial comments. And if we want to do some questions, or if you have any further thoughts, I'd love to keep it going. Oh, let's see it. We got these chat things, right?
It's okay. The silence, I was just like, I was looking at the eyes in the room because I know there's some people on the edge. Like, should I go first? Should I go first? There is one, and I do want, if there's any listeners in the group that didn't get a chance to, or any listeners in the group in the first, if either one of y'all want to do a follow-up question for Curtis, I'm going to take one. Because I do want us to finish out with what was the most profound thing, if you have one, that we're walking away with. I'd like for Curtis to hear that before we leave, but I would leave room for one person in the listener group to ask any follow-up questions if you're dying to ask something. Look at Caleb. He's like, I ain't waiting. Look, my head is up. All right, Caleb, it's on you.
Okay, so this is going to be kind of interesting. You can track with me. So when we talk about the different sensations of heaven and hell and that contrast, I think one thing that's kind of interesting is where would you put in essentially hedonism, or like the pursuit of maximizing the most amount of pleasure? Because for some people that is heaven. That could be seen as a selfish action versus like a selfless action.
Yeah, I think hedonism, so the pursuit of material pleasures, it is fine to have, but I don't think it should be steering your life. I don't think it should be the highest good in your life, because if the pursuit of hedonistic pleasure is the most important thing for you, that becomes really easy to, well, I want this nice stuff, that person has this nice stuff. And if the most important thing is this, what's stopping me from taking that from you, or for neglecting people? If I've got my daughter and she's wanting attention, but that's not fun for me, I want to go do something else. If that can lead you to anything that makes other people, human beings, not the most important thing, I feel like can be dangerous. So I'm not trying to say don't enjoy that stuff. I absolutely think that it can enrich your life to go out, have a nice meal, have clothes that you like, art, whatever it is that stimulates you, that you got to have that in there. I think without any of that, do something like people say, oh, I want to go get my nails done or get a massage or whatever. If you don't do that, I think that you can end up feeling it leads you to more quickly be burnout. I think it plays a really important role, but it can't be the most important thing, because you see that people get this greed, people will use other people to get what they want. I think it's really just about ordering things, and the ideal order for things is usefulness is the most important thing. So this is your sort of mission statement is I want to make the world a better place. And then below that, in service of that, is all the hedonistic pleasure, or all the like creature comforts, or taking good care of everything. And then at the bottom, it's still there, is your ego and your self-image. Like, it's there. You got it. You have to like who you are, and you have to take care of yourself. And if you do something that's noteworthy and people say something nice to you about it, then that's good. You get an award or something, that's fine. But that needs to be subservient. So if my pride is telling me to do something that I know harms somebody, that's not useful. So it's got to fall in line there. I think it's really just about correct ordering. We don't have to try to say, oh, I don't care. I'm not going to try to feel good about who I am. I'm not going to have things that I enjoy. It's just about that order. I think usefulness, then what Swedenborg calls love of the world, which is love of sensory gratification and pleasure, and then love of your self-image or your ego there, but playing on the team with those things. I think that's the best way to do it. Great question.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So thank you, Caleb. Great question. And we are not going to hold Curtis that much longer. Bringing people in like Curtis and Matt, who you're going to hear from after the break. These are micro doses of information. Like, there's so much we can chase the glittery stuff in terms of knowledge. We do know that knowledge will lead us out, as Marsha told us. But because there's so many glittery things we can chase towards our path to wherever we're going next, I wanted to give y'all micro doses. And as I told you, this experience is about your interpersonal development and your interpersonal development. If you don't leave at the end of 11 months feeling like you've grown, then this probably was not the best experience for you. But that's the goal of the program. Do you leave here feeling like you are empowered to take yourself to the next level as a result of some of these micro conversations that we're having? The last thing I want to add is that we can show Curtis some love by subscribing to the YouTube channel and leaving a comment, because comments kind of push views up. So I'm going to drop that in the chat. But before Curtis leaves, the most profound thing that is worth repeating that you heard from Curtis tonight. Love to hear. If you don't feel like speaking up on the camera, drop it in the comments. But the most profound thing that you're walking away with tonight, if there's one that you'd like to leave before Curtis is out. Make sense? Okay. Anybody want to come off mic and say something that they're leave something that was sticky for you tonight from Curtis?
It all resonates with me because of my trauma. Okay, let me well, me, and it's like he was walking my day today. Everything was profound. I'm wild. I am absolutely wild at listening and excited.
I think one thing that, sorry, Queen, my bad, go ahead. I think one thing that I pulled away, I was jotting when Chris was writing, I pulled forgiveness basically equals redemption, and the two sides of humanity, being useful and providing someone that same joy of being useful is kind of the balance of the two.
We respect silence. So when you hear those silent, awkward moments, it's totally okay. We're just in our head, as always. So Curtis, there is one person in the chat, Miss Shakila. She was at the conference that was in May. She wants to know if you could give, what was it, Shakila? Speak. Where are you? I don't see you. Okay. Oh, there you are. Ask Curtis what you're going to ask, and then that'll be it, Curtis. Feel free to stay if you like. I'm going to give the guys a break after Shakila.
Great.
Hey, Curtis. Hello, everyone. Wait, okay, you can hear me.
Yep.
So the question was if you would be willing to provide us with a 1 minute of your experience with us, because we are the first graduating class. I'm speaking it. And we would love your experience with us tonight. And that was just my question. That's all I wanted to say.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
Right now, I'll give it.
Oh, wait. Is it recorded right now? If you want to give it now, yeah. If you would like to, that'd be
Okay.
great. All of us are here.
Okay,
I
great.
guess. Cindy, is it okay? Okay.
What? Okay, I didn't know. Was that usually something we record and do later? Oh, I can do both. I'll say. I'll give you a minute right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good discussion culture that you have here. I noticed that this emphasis on, okay, everyone, all the participants hold the floor, and everyone's encouraged to speak, and you get some guidelines, but just go ahead and say what's true for you. I think that's really valuable. And I was very impacted by just how honest and heartfelt the things people were saying were. People are obviously not just, I'm just going to say an answer to fill the space. This was people really looking at their lives and things that had touched them in their hearts, and being willing to just share their experiences. I think that whenever people talk about their own lives and things, especially things that are difficult in their own lives, that opens it up for other people. And so I think that you've created a really great sphere here where people feel like, oh, I can talk about anything and people are going to hear me. So I was definitely moved by that. Yeah, so that's 1 minute. I noticed Renisha said, how do you balance usefulness and having a savior complex? I just really quick want to answer that. Love and wisdom have to go together. Love and wisdom, they're partners. You can't really have one without the other. That if you do, it's not really going to do what it needs. So love is the desire to get it done, right? Love is the desire to get it done. Wisdom is the how to get it done. So if you have a desire to be useful, don't ever stop learning about how to be useful. And so I think a savior complex, you might think, well, I'm going to go in and think I'm being all helpful, but it's actually not catering to the needs of whoever I think I'm helping there. So as long as you continue to listen and continue to watch and make sure to try to monitor, oh, is my joy here in being useful, or is it just in my own self-image? Like, look at how great I am helping these people. If you're monitoring for that and you're trying to continue to be useful, I think just go for it. And if you err a little bit on the side of savior complex, you'll keep getting better and better. But I thought it was a great question, so I want to tack that on at the end.
Thank you. Full stop. Curtis, thank you.
There's my email in the chat. If you do have questions or anything, you can email me there or go to the YouTube page.
We're going to shout you out, and thank you for gifting us with your wisdom. Curtis is one person that I consider to be a knowledge philanthropist. He is gifting us with his knowledge, and we're very, I speak for myself, but we're very grateful for Derek going up to you and saying, hey, those ladies want to meet you. And Curtis, thank you for saying yes to the dress. We really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. All right, Reachers, why don't you guys come back when your clock says 7:47. Matt is up next. We're going to get right busy as soon as we come back. So take a quick 3-4 minute break. But on my computer, it says 7:42, 5 minutes from there, 7:47. Y'all come back at 7:47. Stretch, get you some water, and then be ready to talk about emotional intelligence when we come back.
Derek, you still there?
Dude, what's happening?
How are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
Good.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yes. Interesting group you've got. I like this. This is very nice what y'all doing. I didn't want to speak up. I didn't want to Curtis saying a lot of things I could add into that, but I didn't want to step in and take over. But yeah, it was great. Very nice.
You know, the one I wanted to bring up, and I was like, we don't have time. I know we don't have time, but remember
which one?
In the conference where he said when people are just being not so friendly people to be around, we're supposed to say, I just want you to
you to be happier than me.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to bring him back for that next one, because that just makes people be like, do not. So it takes it back to us, but that one, I think we need to have a whole hour with him and just like tell us what you mean when you say you just want people to be happier than me. You remember him saying that, Derek?
100%, 100%. And that's actually something like, that's always in my head, but even before I met him, because when you're given that type of energy, that's what you're getting back.
Yeah.
That's just how it works, right?
And
I mean,
I didn't think about it like that. When you give it, okay.
You get it. That's how it works, right? That's when you,
Okay, what about with a narcissist though? What if it's a narcissist that's just like can't see it? Like he or she uses their usefulness for hurt.
There's an expression. He gets it back too. I mean, there's an expression in French. It's called "la terre est ronde," which that means the earth is round. Well, nowadays we don't know anymore, but but the
earth is flat.
Yeah, exactly. So who knows?
Today we are not gonna do that today.
Okay.
But it's like, what you put out comes back to you, and that's such truth. It's something that I learned so long ago. And I mean, like, I had a business partner who was a hardcore narcissist, and I mean, it took time, but he's certainly getting what he deserves. And I don't want bad things to happen to him, even though the things that he did were absolutely horrible. But I mean, what goes around comes around. I really believe that. So it's the same thing on the positive effect. When you're giving out love and you're giving out goodness, it comes back to you. It's so important. Did I share my core values with you?
No, I'm curious.
No. So
we haven't done core values in this group. It's a part of the assignment, but I think I'm gonna make it a small group one because I think knowing people's values, you're gonna know what their triggers are too, or at least.
I missed a lot. It broke up. I didn't hear what you said.
No, share your values with me. Or no, I don't think I did.
No, see, these are values that I've made over the last 15 years in my different businesses, and like I would always, positivity is something very important to me, right? So just to give you an idea, the 5 values are positivity, empathy, appreciation, community, and the last one is supposed to be the letter E, if you haven't figured out what I wrote.
Yep.
Okay, it's for the word W, wellness. So it's peace. That's the acronym, peace, but you flip it to the side. Okay. And like they're very simple values. Attitude is absolutely everything. What you put out, you get back. So for example, here, I'll read it off to you right now. Attitude is everything. Maintaining a positive attitude gives respect to yourself and those around you. And it's truth, because when you're not feeling good and your attitude's down, you're just like, you notice how you bring in that energy? You ever notice that? And then you get more people, more problems, and more whatever issues, and other people, oh yeah, I can relate to that. And you keep going down. But when you keep that vibe up, keep that positivity up, which is basically what Kurt is saying, which you put out there and comes back, it's the truth. I mean, it's just, those are just universal laws, We got people coming back on. So.
Thank you, Derek. You dropping wisdom too. We're gonna go sign you up for a class. Yeah, Curtis, Derek is kind of famous too. We had a couple famous people on the line.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back, y'all. Welcome back.
Cindy, could I just say a quick encouragement?
No.
Okay.
I'm just playing. I'm getting you back because you did that to me at the start of class.
Oh, okay.
Go.
I just wanted to say, I noticed so many people were quiet during that first talkers group. And I want to encourage people that this is practice. This is a safe place for us to have a voice and to speak that voice. So those who would tend to not say something, I want to encourage you to practice. We're not going to, we all feel a sense of love for each other already in this. And if you butt in and interrupt, with hesitation, we're not going to look down on you. I just want to encourage those ones who are more hesitant. This is the time to start to bloom and let your voice grow. Okay, that's all.
Well said.
Well said. Thank you, Anthony. And the only thing I'm gonna add with Anthony, I'm gonna say what I said when y'all came on. It'll be what you make of it. The people that we bring in front of you today, they found a niche or a corner of the world that agrees with what they say. And they are paid to share those words. So Marsha, she's got a show tonight where she's going to be paid several $1,000s to share what she believes, and people are going to pay and show up to see her. Curtis, as a knowledge philanthropist, he gets paid buku bucks to stand on stage with a microphone. Now, whether you're doing this for money or personal professional growth, again, it's going to be up to you what you take away from it. Nobody's in the wrong place, regardless if you speak up today or not ever. You're meant to be here. I do believe that, for what all the other reasons. Y'all ready? Y'all ready?
Let's go.
Y'all ready? So I am having trouble with sharing my screen, but what's gonna happen, we're gonna flip this through. And again, remember, y'all gonna be able to give feedback. Can y'all tell me what screen y'all see right now?
Curtis Childs.
Okay, there's Curtis. Do you still have control?
I do not.
All right, and I gave Matt control because Matt is actually gonna show a couple of slides during his time. So I'll just do this for right now, Caleb.
Curtis Child.
Let me go back. All right, our next person. If you are, this is round 2, so just a reminder of who gets to speak up during the roundtable discussion. That's gonna be y'all's roles. And Matt Perlstein, emotional intelligence. This is where I get a volunteer to read that. Sorry, Caleb, I messed up. Volunteer, somebody.
No matter what happens outside of you, you have the power to control what happens inside of you. You are in control of your inner world, including your thoughts, feelings, actions, values, beliefs, attitudes, moods, all of it.
Intelligence EQ is our pathway. Emotional intelligence EQ is our pathway to peace. According to EQ for Peace founder and president Matt Perlstein, Matt Perlstein is also a CEO, published author, keynote speaker, podcaster, facilitator, and learner, husband, and pet owner. Matt fell in love with the wonder and joy of emotional intelligence EQ. Before there was a word to describe it, Matt's painful childhood inspired him to seek help. Once he realized that so many of his issues and disorders were merely a lack of right-brain emotional education, he immersed himself in EQ for both personal and professional development. It is Matt's belief that so many of our biggest social problems today, violence, abuse, addictions, divorce, suicide, gangs, mass killings, most crime, much of mental health, often physical health, even war, are significantly due to people, especially women, not knowing how to deal with their own thoughts and feelings. Matt says, those who know emotional intelligence should teach those who don't. After 30 years of designing and teaching emotional education EQ in numerous countries, Matt linked up with his colleagues to form a US-based nonprofit to spread EQ to everyone. The mission at EQ for Peace is simple: teach children, teens, and adults how to understand and appreciate and manage their own thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Basically, teach people to create peace inside themselves. Matt believes that understanding and managing our inner world leads to personal and social responsibility, and someday to world peace. Many promote world peace EQ actually teaches people how to be peaceful inside first. EQ rocks and world peace begins with inner peace. Please welcome subject matter expert Mr. Matt Perlstein to the ACES Matter Leadership Residency class. Emotional.
Remember, y'all are going to be able to give me feedback on just all the things. So save that. If it's not meeting your 5-star Waldorf Astoria hotel experience, you'll be able to give that feedback at the end. But this is the part where we look at some profound data points, and then Caleb's going to call on people to read the slides that are green.
All right. We haven't heard from you yet, Mr. CK. Could you read this for us, please?
All right. Emotional intelligence. 71% of hiring managers said that emotional intelligence, or EI, is more important than IQ. EQ is responsible for 58% of your job performance. 90% of top performers have high EQ. 29,000 people with high EQ, make 29,000 or more annually than their low EQ counterparts. 70% of Fortune 500 companies are setting aside budgets to train emotional intelligence. And okay, cool. I was just,
Yep, perfect. Let's see who else we haven't heard from tonight. And who's on? Anthony, could you read this one for us, please?
In just a second, whichever Anthony is going to read, if any of these statements resonate with you, that Anthony, one of the Anthony's is getting ready to read, drop a yes. The question is, how often do you hear or say these statements? So drop it in the comment if you have an opinion on this slide as Anthony reads.
Okay, I'm going to say Anthony McCauley.
12 phrases emotionally intelligent people don't use. How often do you hear or say these statements? Number 1, you're going to do what? Why can't you just? Number 2, okay, if that's what you think. Number 3, I had no other choice. Number 4, how do you think I'm supposed to feel? Number 5, if you can believe that. 6, everything is great, right? And on the other side, it says, well, and I guess these are rebuttals. 2, nobody says that to me. 3, this would have never happened if you. 4, stop it, just stop it. 5, that reminds me of a time when I. Or 6, why should I even bother with you?
Perfect, thank you so much.
I am going to be the first one to say, when I saw this, I was like, oh, I thought I had my emotional intelligence together. And I didn't. I know I was like, to the whole point about words and energies and people around you. I noticed that I use these statements often when I'm around people who are vibrating low.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna leave my own personal thing with y'all, but I noticed that one place that my EQ is teaching me right now is that I lose it when I'm trying to get somebody who's vibrating low to understand what I need. So if you are reading these and you're like, ooh, I say some of those too, it's okay, because this is why we're here. We want to be one of those high income learners and people who just feel really good about ourselves. And so like this was eye-opening for me, because I know exactly who I am most likely to use some of these statements with, like immediately when I saw it. So if y'all feeling that way, I see some comments of some people, you're not alone, and it didn't start with you. Thank you, Caleb. Caleb, I'm not gonna have everybody read this, but the part that I want to share with this slide, in terms of a profound data point, this is really small. Y'all don't have to read this, but there's 2 things to take away from it. Childhood trauma, if you don't hear nothing else, comes for your emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence happens behind the forehead. And when I say the forehead, that is the prefrontal cortex. That's where emotional, that's like where you say, think about it twice before you do something. When you lack emotional intelligence, you cannot get that energy to the front part of your brain, and there's no thinking about anything twice. We immediately go to hell in our thoughts, okay? So Matt's going to share his expertise, but we're first gonna hear from y'all. But I wanted to show this slide to say, if for some reason you did not get those experiences taught in childhood, there's nothing wrong with you or the people that we're gonna be helping when we get out here and when we put the microphone behind us. You have to imagine what it's like being around an adult who has difficulty controlling their emotions. I don't need you to imagine, I'm sure somebody comes to mind right now, right? To know that a lot of these foundations are set between the last trimester of pregnancy up until 7 years old. If these things are missing, they become adults who now all of a sudden have to relearn this stuff, hence me, so that we can be useful in the right way. So that's why I want to share this out. So nothing wrong with the people that we're serving, nothing wrong with us. If this was missing in childhood, then some of our reactions are reasonable. The self-awareness part is designed to make us close any of those gaps. Last thing, and then we're gonna hear from Matt. Y'all ready?
Emotional intelligence is the quality that enables us to confront with patience, insight, and imagination the many problems that we face in our effective relationship with ourselves and with other people. The term emotional intelligence may sound odd. We're used to referring to intelligence just as a general quality, without unpicking a particular variety a person might possess, and therefore we don't tend to highlight the value of a distinctive sort of intelligence which currently does not enjoy the prestige it should. Every sort of intelligence signals an ability to navigate well around a particular set of challenges: mathematical, linguistic, technical, commercial. When we say that someone is clever, but add that they've made a mess of their personal lives, or that they've acquired a fortune but are restless and sad, or that they are powerful but intolerant and unimaginative, we're pointing to a deficit in what deserves to be called emotional intelligence. In social life, we can feel the presence of emotional intelligence in a sensitivity to the moods of others, and in a readiness to grasp the surprising things that may be going on for other people beneath the surface. Emotional intelligence recognizes a role for interpretation and knows that, for example, a fiery outburst might be a disguised plea for help, or that a long political rant may be provoked by hunger, or that concealed within a forceful jolliness may be a sorrow that has been sentimentally disavowed. In relation to ourselves, emotional intelligence shows up in a skepticism around our emotions, especially those of love, desire, anger, envy, anxiety, and professional ambition. The emotionally intelligent refuse to just trust their first impulses or the inherent wisdom of their feelings. They know that hatred may mask love, that anger may be a cover for sadness, and that we are prone to huge and costly inaccuracies around whom we desire and what we really want. Emotional intelligence is also what distinguishes those who are crushed by failure from those who know how to greet the troubles of existence with a melancholy and at points darkly humorous resilience. The emotionally intelligent appreciate the role of well-handled pessimism within the overall economy of a good life. Emotional intelligence isn't an inborn talent. It's always the result of education, specifically education in how to interpret ourselves, in where our emotions arise from, in how our childhoods influence us, and in how we might best navigate our fears and our wishes. In the ideal society, it would be routine to be taught emotional intelligence from the youngest age, before we'd had the opportunity to make too many mistakes. It's because we have, until now, not taken emotional education seriously enough that our species has grown ever more technically adept while retaining the level of wisdom of our earliest days, with catastrophic results. We are now evolved monkeys with nuclear weapons. It appears that the fate of civilization depends on our capacity to master the mechanisms of emotional education before it's too late. And emotional education means something far beyond just normal education as we've conceived of it to date. Though it should ideally include courses in every year of school or college, emotional education is more than something that should just take place in classrooms at the hands of teachers and come to a halt around the age of 21. The central vehicle for the transfer of emotional intelligence is culture, from its highest to its most popular level. Culture is the field that can ritualize and consistently promote the absorption of emotional intelligence. The lessons might be embedded in a tragedy or a TV series, a pop song or a novel, a work of architecture or a YouTube film. We can envisage the entire apparatus of culture as a subtle mechanism designed to point us towards greater emotional intelligence. We will never progress as a species and will indeed grow into ever greater technologically armed menaces to ourselves until we've accepted the challenges and opportunities of properly educating ourselves in emotional intelligence. Our technical intelligence is great, of course. It's led us to tame nature and conquer this planet. But a wiser, saner future for the human race must depend on a capacity to master and then seductively teach one another the rudiments of emotional intelligence while there is still time. Thank you for watching, liking, and subscribing.
That was a good video.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. This is our first game, so we're gonna have some, things I'm gonna be able to fix from now on. But y'all stretch. Something's on my mind. This one just came down from somewhere, and it said to ask y'all what feelings are in our bodies right now. If you can, if you can comment, chat, like, is there a feeling in your heart, your blood, your palms, your head? Like, where are the feels right now in your physical body, if you can notice it? Mine is my heart right now. I see a tired shoulders, chest, heaviness in my heart, shoulders. Head. Brain, heart, stomach, palms. Oh, this is some intense stuff. This is intense. Okay. Well, if you are a listener for this section, take a deep breath, sit back, and listen to how your peers control the mic right now. And this is just your time just to listen. And notice where your body is when you hear certain stuff, right? Because that's going to tell you where in the ocean there's some work that we have a chance to work with. So questions. You know what your role is? We've got responders, Macaulay, Morano, Hilton, Troy, Baltazar, Roberts, Renisha Johnson, and Clarence. Y'all got the mic. And I'm going to give y'all 10 minutes this time, and then I'm going to turn it over to Matt. So how much ever y'all can get out in the next 10 minutes. The conversation is yours, and everybody else mic's off.
Well, I would like to know, and I'm definitely going to go back and rewatch it. What I appreciated about it was the fact that emotional intelligence is something that is learned or that can be learned. The whole concept of emotional education to me is like being aware of yourself or knowing yourself. Just like how you said, where are you feeling the emotion in your body right now? A lot of times I'll take a break and tune into myself to feel the feelings that I'm feeling and just be aware of it. I don't, maybe the experiences that I've been through have caused me to be aware of those things. I don't know where I learned it. But it was definitely a lot of reading and being aware of other people and being curious about why people act the way they do. And so being in tune to other people's psyches. So I really appreciated that aspect of the video where they said, emotional education is something that can be learned and taught.
So when you asked us the question a few minutes ago about how are you feeling right now, it made me feel as though that we're able to, that was a cultivating type question for all of our emotional intelligence. But what's happening to me is it seems like we're on here now, we're being naturally drawn to each other because this whole group has a high, I think, emotional attachment to each other. I think we're getting to feel really comfortable and at ease with each other's rapport and some of the things that we've experienced. But it feels like I've been able to, through the question you just posed, Cindy, that I've been able to feel like that. I've been able to even, I can't say mind read, but at least feel how when all the answers came in the chat, to at least feel to some extent different domains or different ways that people are feeling. And then also the video, can I learn to be more emotionally intelligent? I think you can. I think, yes, you can by Am I able to identify what I'm feeling and understand it? If that's making sense. I mean, I don't know if I'm able to name that emotion. And I was able to name that emotion immediately when you said, so stop right now. How's everybody feeling? And I can regulate it. I said my shoulders. Well, I think that's because I did shoulders last night at the gym. And I'm kind of tense in that area, but that's exactly where I was feeling with my emotions. But I think you can also learn to regulate emotions by just stopping and thinking before you act and judge.
Well said. I wrote down some things, right, while we were doing this. And I think the reason all of my touch points were activated, right, in terms of my heart, right, my brain and my stomach, all of my brains were firing off. And I was kind of excited because this is kind of like not really a wheelhouse, but a passion realm for me. And so I was talking about basically what Anthony is saying, like to reflect on what my folks were talking about in terms of the difference between being useful and being used, right? The key to successful navigation in social realms and leading to like a high quality or a rich quality of life, right, lies within the emotional awareness and the emotional regulation, right, versus the emotional reasoning and the cognitive distortions that come with most of that delayed development that happens with those adverse experiences. It just goes to show just how powerful that neuroelasticity piece is, and how like connecting and telling that story and letting your story be your power so you can take your power back and literally understand how and what is happening inside of you and correlate that with what's happening around you, right? Based on all of the things that you've already been through, right? Because all of the keys are there. We just haven't had the permission, right, to access most of that for the societal expectation stuff, right? So I think that like the fact that emotional intelligence is now being brought on the spectrum, right, and put on a platform and compared with the rest of intelligence, right? It's kind of like the inclusion with mental health care and physical health care, because it's all healthcare, you feel me? So it's all putting it on the board. And I think that, you know, it's happening, and it took forever, but it's perfect, right? Especially with our kiddos right now.
All right. Something that for the undebatable statement about how we have the ability to control our inner world, something that, you know, I kind of want to piggyback off of what like Melissa said and Anthony said, but I think it's very interesting is that people like ourselves who have gone through traumatic experiences, typically they end up kind of manifesting themselves later on as like HSPs, highly sensitive people, or empaths. And I think something that's very interesting for myself is, you know, in my own personal experience, growing up, I got to be pretty proficient at kind of being able to understand reading the room. And it's like, that's how I should act or how I shouldn't act. But I think what's crazy is when we say that for that statement about being able to control your inner world, because of the people I saw around me were just reactive and everybody's just reacting, the only thing I really knew how to do is how not to be in the way of getting more trauma. So I got to be very good at reacting, but that part about emotional intelligence is learned. You kind of have to know where to start to be able to first be able to identify the emotions that you're feeling, because it's only now, and it's a shame that I moved to adulthood, but I'm understanding the level of anger, frustration that I have towards my grandparents, towards my mom, towards my partner. You know, it's a shame that I'm taking these things out on them, but if you don't even understand how to start with identifying it, it's very difficult for you to believe actually it was Anthony who said to take that moment to stop and think before you react. Because a lot of times you're just reacting and resentment hits before the rest of it actually does, because you don't even realize that you're in that state. So I think that part for the statement is what I would debate about. You know, when we talk about being able to control it, you first have to be given the key to know that you can control it, because I didn't know.
Yeah, but that was so good, Caleb, because what I was getting out of that was you had the ability to understand, then you used it, and then you manage your own emotions in a positive way to even relieve, I think, stress. And then Matt put in the chat box the awareness, the acceptance, and the action or no action. That comes along with the communicating effectively and empathizing with others.
Yes.
You know? So, man, that was powerful what you said, Caleb and Clarence. Thanks for the feedback.
Just to piggyback
I like to say,
what you
go
said,
ahead.
Khalid, that emotional intelligence for me, myself, I had to kind of teach myself that emotional intelligence, but it wasn't until I learned about my trauma and what I was going through mentally. I had to understand and learn myself all over again because I didn't even know what trauma was. So my intellect didn't come in until I started understanding myself and working on what my trauma was.
Awareness. That's what he said.
Awareness. I like to add something I say every morning is I cannot control other people. I can only control my reactions to them. And I say that to myself over and over and over. I cannot control other people, but I can control my reaction to them. And it's been really helping me.
One thing that's popping out for me is that connection is the cure phrase. We have inner awareness, what's going on, and outer awareness, what's going on with other people. So if we've been traumatized in certain ways, we have more of that outer awareness because we're hyper vigilant. If we're other ways, we're more disconnected to our inner emotions. We could have anger and not even know it, and that kind of thing. My wife calls me a delayed wiper because my emotions come like afterward. And but the thing is, connection to what's going on with us inside, like the thing that Anthony, other people were saying, as well as outside. And it's like you need both to be useful, to be aware of what's happening and relate to other people in a way that's going to lift them up, but not be selfish, to know when it's too much. So it's like this kind of like a double awareness on the inside and the outside.
Something to piggyback off that, something that most recently, it's crazy because like 3 years ago today I shared a post, but it was talking about ego. And what I realized was just how often my ego is like, I guess, attacked by things that somebody asks a question. I'm like, defense. And it's like, it's so funny how when you're talking about that inner part, that's our ego. And our ego, honestly, it's talking all the time. But we have to be, I'm in control of the body. I see you. Stop throwing a tantrum. We're going to react like a mature adult. So that's what I'm learning right now. The fact that it's always going, but I'm in control of the driver's seat.
That can go back to what Curtis was saying about the spiritual part of it, Caleb, because when you start talking about ego in the world that I'm in the recovery field, ego is edging God out. So that goes back to the spiritual part where, you know what, ego is edging God out. So that when you said that, the way you did your illustration, I'm like, okay, that seems like part of what we talk about when we when I give it to my people in my world here. So
yeah, one of the things that I realized too, just piggybacking off of what Caleb said, and like realizing your emotions and what it is that you're feeling, like it's been a hard road for me to like name my feelings, like that's something that is, definitely a new occurrence, knowing that I'm feeling something, but not knowing that it's anger. And so, like they were talking about masking emotions, right? Like, so angry might mean sad, that you're very, very sad, or so the emotions can also be very, very confusing when you're, eating and stuffing your face, when you're really just anxious and you want the anxiety to go away, so it's all these jumbles of emotions. And, for me, it took a lot of time to sit down and to sort of sort out what those things meant, right? Because I would be labeling it one thing when it's really something else. And so that to me is also a part of that emotional intelligence, is knowing what you're feeling and accurately labeling it.
You guys ever have family members know that you're grumpy, but you don't even know it? It's like, what's wrong with you? It's like, I didn't know there was anything wrong. But some sort of emotion is sort of coming out, and it's like, okay, time to look inside, see what's happening.
Thank you. That reminded me of the Snickers commercial, right? But like, to tie it all in, right? Like, I forget which story it is in the Bible in which like God has to sit his disciple down and just sits him by the tree and like lets him take a nap, right? there's a whole situation where a lot of us need to slow things down to recognize what's happening, right? So we are better able to respond versus react, because a lot of us are still automatic reaction, right? That we know, the conditioned learned response stuff, right? It's the automatic thing. If I feel a certain way, then this must be it. And so automatically I need to go here, right? That's safety and survival, right? The reptilian brain stuff, right? There's no air there. There's no ability to respond because you're kind of amygdala hijacked, right? You're that same scared little kid with no recollection or direction on which way to go. But when you're actually able to slow down and name those things, right, and acknowledge that there's something happening inside of us, even if we don't understand it, because a lot of it is only meant to be understood once you know what's popping, right? Sorry, I was about to go into this rant, but
save that for the talk on Sunday. You got a live interview on Sunday, so you're gonna hold out. By the way, real quick, raise your hand in the background if you're gonna, or drop a comment if you're not on camera. Who's on live Sunday? Clarence, I know is live Sunday, right? Clarence, I picked you, Patrice, and Anthony McCauley, and I feel like there's just 3, right? So these guys are going to be live Sunday on Social Work Sunday Tea. So please, y'all gonna have a chance to talk about our conversation. All right, real quick, 30 seconds of complete silence. Let's just sit with everything we just heard. Let our brain receive that. Welcome back. I'm going to turn the microphone and the screen sharing over to Mr. Matt Perlstein. Matt, when you come on, will you tell us where you're calling us from when you do come off of mute? But before Matt goes, y'all are going to hear from Coach over here. Y'all see Coach over here trying to keep to the agenda, and then I just forget it. Just forget it. Such a guy. But Coach wants to share with y'all. You all know, if you're in orientation, that I have only been on this path 2 years, and I've learned so much about myself, which is obviously how I've come into contact with y'all. And the power of knowing when your body is trying to tell you something is like a superpower. And I'm going to tell you why I say that. Resentment was all over me last week. I was carrying so much resentment in the situation that's happening in my home that I knew it immediately. I knew it immediately because I turned to food and I turned to the TV, and I did not want to face that feeling. And then I also knew that the person I wanted to talk with about did not have the emotional intelligence to handle what I was feeling. So I was stuck with it. Now, even though I don't have necessarily, there's not a fix to it, if you will, I read my body. I knew then, and plus because of my therapy, that resentment, you can feel it. You immediately go to hell, if you will. I immediately went there, and I was using all of those statements that I wasn't supposed to use. And now I know what it was that happened in that situation to cause me to resent that person. So guess how I'm going to be able to use that the next time that pop quiz happens. It doesn't mean I'm all fixed or perfect, but I know how to respond to that pop quiz the next time it comes back around. Because now I can recognize, one, I know that I don't have to veg, or I don't have to do something to avoid the conversation. I've got the tool. So I'm going to share that with y'all, real life, last week example of just 2 years in, it's a process. And just having to sit with it as you learn it. Making light of it if you can. Matt, without further ado, the microphone is yours.
Thanks, Cindy. Thank you. Wow, what a great group. This is fantastic. I've been taking notes like crazy, trying to got some really good profound stuff. You guys are on it. It's pretty cool. So my biggest problem is I am not a professional making money doing this like some of the other people. I'm volunteer. I have a nonprofit. I do not get paid for it. Everybody in our nonprofits volunteers. And anyway, but I have burning desire. I have passion for this, as you will hear. And my biggest problem I have is that I have way too much material. I have so much that I want to say, and I want to show you guys and tell people and jump up and down about how important this emotional stuff is. It's incredible. It's much, much, much more important than we ever imagined. In like the history of the world, in my opinion. Not that I've been around all that long, but we never learned this stuff. A number of people have mentioned, I don't know where I learned it, but that's so cool. I mean, it's cool, but it's bad, right? At the same time, because you learned it, it's all haphazard. You maybe figured it out and maybe you don't. And some people, a lot of people, most people, in my opinion, go through their whole life and don't figure out how to deal with their emotions. And how sad is that? I mean, it's awful. And as we also mentioned in the intro, it's causing a lot of really bad social problems. And you guys are great examples of that, I'm afraid. Is what's happened to you was basically, I should say us, is so much to do with emotional ignorance. And we didn't learn about it in school. I was pretty disappointed with my schooling. I went all the way through college and I'm like, that's it. I graduated college. I went, the whole thing. And I was like, that's it. I still don't know how to deal with me. I still don't know how to deal with other people, really. I don't know what's going on inside of me. My parents were pretty clueless. They weren't mean and vicious like some parents, but they were really clueless. They wouldn't have said, don't feel this stuff, but they sure didn't. And so I had no role models. My dad was in the military. And so that whole culture is, you don't feel stuff, right? Ever. Or at least you don't show it. And so I thought I was wacko because I had feelings and they thought I was wacko too. And I went to therapy in like 6th grade. I had to leave PE class to go out to a therapist, and I try explaining that to your friends. And yikes, right? So anyway, let me throw some stuff out at you. Maybe it can help. I hope it can. I'm going to go really fast because it's too much. All right. The premise was you're in control of you, right? And we'll talk about that. Here's what's driving me. I don't want you guys, all of us, to have to experience the pain that we went through and abuse that we went through. I want to stop that. I want this to be this guy in the middle here who switches things. And that's tough. That's tough. You got to do against what you feel like doing. You got to do against what you saw happen, what you felt happen, and you got to make up a different way and do it different. And that's tough. That is tough road, but it can be done. As a couple people mentioned, Melissa said, you can train, you can learn this stuff. This is all teachable skills. We can learn this stuff. So, and it all starts with being aware that we are in charge of our own inner world, that we are in control of our own lives. No matter what happens outside of us, we get to control what happens inside of us. So this sounds really easy, and it's, a simple little statement. You're like, oh yeah, that's right. But it ain't easy. It's simple, but it is not easy. In fact, it's some of the hardest stuff you ever do in your life. The cool side of that is that if you can do with it, when you can deal with your own self and you feel what you feel, but you're in control and you can regulate and master what you feel and what you do with it, then you can do all kinds of amazing things in your life. You can do incredible stuff. And it's beautiful, beautiful thing. Oh, and it's all completely free. It's all completely free. EQ, somebody might charge you for a book or video or a class or something, but once you have the stuff, have the information, it's yours, baby. You take it and run with it as long as you want. You want more? Close your mouth, close your eyes, go inside, get some more. Get some more. It's in there. It's all in there. We're born that way. So no matter what happens outside, we get to control what happens inside. I would like for you guys to learn that you are in charge of you. A lot of you would sound like you're already there, which is cool, which is very, very cool. But most of the world does not know this, in my opinion. We're worldwide, and most of the people in the world do not know that they are in charge of themselves. No one ever told them. They don't know about being aware of themselves. They don't know about accepting themselves, and they sure don't know about that they get to choose their actions about what happens to them. We came up with this term called positive mental health. About mental health is usually kind of got a negative connotation to it, right? Because it's pain, issues, disorders, all problems, right? Which is true. And we do need to deal with those. We definitely need to learn to deal with those. But we don't have to stop there. We can learn how to deal with our negative emotions so that we can come up and be better. I've got a couple slides on that in a minute. So I'm going to skip some of these. Good news. Good news. Our thoughts and feelings are ours. If you don't take anything from this presentation or whatever, from what I'm saying, just one thing. They're yours. Your thoughts, your feelings, your decisions, your values, your beliefs, your attitude, your motivation, all that stuff is totally, completely yours. What you want with it. Uh-oh, there we go. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you now. We lost you for a little bit.
Okay, sorry. All right, we get the idea. We are not taught how to do this at school. We don't know how to do it at home. Nobody talks about it. We don't even have the words and the language because no one talked about it. We stuck it inside of ourselves. We tried to figure out as best we could, and that's it. And you sure better not deal with it at work, right? Some of those statistics that were shown earlier about work related, it's pretty cool how it affects our work, but more importantly, in my opinion, and more profoundly, is how it affects us personally and in our families and our relationships, and you know, in home where it gets to the heart. So our nonprofit is called EQ for Peace. We call it EQ rather than EI because people get that there's IQ and EQ and they go, oh, okay, there's another world in there. And a lot of people think world peace is impossible. I'd like to think it is. Dalai Lama thinks that it is. He said, through inner peace, genuine world peace can be achieved. Peace must first be created within ourselves, then gradually expanded to include our families, our communities, and ultimately the whole planet. All right, well, that's hard to prove, but we're going to give it a shot. We're giving it a try. We'll see what happens. So we start with our own selves and grow from there in our own heart. What I'm trying to say is that emotional intelligence leads to inner peace. And that's the goal. EQ is kind of the tools, the concepts, the language, the skills, that kind of thing, that it's how to do it. Positive mental health is the strategies to do it. And inner peace is the goal. We're going for inner peace, and not just inner peace, but it starts with there. And inner peace begins, check this out, inner peace begins the moment you choose not to allow another person or event to control your emotions. That's kind of a big deal, in my opinion. So this is a little thing about positive mental health. If we can learn how to deal with our negatives, we can have more positives. We can have more positive. We got to deal with the negatives, and we do. And there's ways to do that now. And we have a whole bunch of lessons and you know, strategies and all that on how to deal with negatives. But the point is to get to the positives, all right? And so we can do better. We can do better. So same concept with positive psychology, which you may know is is a super hot area of thought, and that is that we don't have to just go from back to normal. We don't have to go from negative back to normal. We can do better than that. We can kick butt. We can do well. So if we want to be our best, we got to be able to handle our worst. There's two sides of our brain. One we focus on usually in school, work, and home. The other one we do not. And that's the balance in them. So we have thoughts, we have feelings, make decisions, and then we act. And those are all up to us. And we have the power to control all four of those. Pretty good at our thoughts. We don't know much about our feelings. So we got to take both of them into account. Both our thoughts and our feelings are, does it make sense? When we're making decisions, does this make sense? And does it feel good and feel right? Is the right thing to do? So we take both of those into account. We make good decisions, and then we do good actions, and we well, and we succeed. We become happier. We can be more. We can help our sanity, all that good stuff based on our thoughts and our feelings. It all starts there, and mostly it starts with our thoughts. But we have to be really aware of our feelings as well. So we can, EQ gives us more choices. The more we know about our emotions and our thoughts, we have more choices, and that gives us power and freedom, and we can thrive, not just survive, right? There's a whole bunch of aspects to emotional intelligence. Safety is one of the keys. I'm sorry, I'm going so fast, but I've got 60 slides I took from 500 slides, and I would love to give all this to you guys, but oh well. There's a ton of
Matt, I want to interrupt you.
Benefits. Yeah.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah, go ahead.
We
Yeah,
want
go ahead.
5 minutes of Q&A with you, so don't feel like you've got to rush through this.
Yeah.
It's just micro, high
right.
level. We'd love to get some time with you
Okay.
for 5 minutes if we can work that out.
All right. All right. I'll shut up for a minute. Go ahead. Do you want to do it now?
Unless there's one
Anybody
other
have
slide
questions?
that you're gonna say we have to see. Is there one other slide like we have to see? Because now that I got you, I would love to have the reachers ask a couple questions.
Let's see. I'll just whip through them. There's 3 main big positives, 3 big negatives. If we can boil everything down to, if we can get good at our fear, anger, and sadness, just those 3, there isn't much that life can throw at us that we can't handle. So that's a big deal. This is what we've been doing in our workshops for 30-something years, is inner child work. And how did we get, who hurt you, angry, afraid, the big 3. What did you decide about life as a result of that? What are you going to do different now? So you can do things differently. We can express our feelings, and it helps a lot. Let's see. All right, I'll stop there. All right. So we got to deal with the negatives. That's a big deal. So apparently, people with more ACEs have more negative feelings to deal with. But we can, and that's what we've been working with for many years. And there's hope. Put it that way. How about that? So any comments, questions, concerns?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's stop the share, Matt. Can we stop the share? And then Caleb,
Okay.
in the background.
Yep.
Reachers, we have about 7 more minutes with Matt.
All right.
Matt, can you tell us real quick where you're calling from geographically?
Northern California, Fort Bragg, California. The coast, the ocean is right on the other side of those trees over there. And it's cold. It should be hot, but it's cold.
Awesome. Thank you. All the way. We got a whole bunch of different people located geographically. All right, reachers, you guys have the microphone. I'm not going to put structure on this. I'm just going to put a timestamp. So we got until 7. We got 7 minutes until my clock says 8:42 to pick Matt's brain while we have him. And again, he's traveled. How many countries now are you at? Oh, I thought you froze. How many countries have you hit, Matt, so far with your knowledge?
10.
10 countries.
I had personally done presentations in 10 different countries and counting.
All right, Reacher, y'all got the mic.
Have you ever run into anybody that was maybe incapable of increasing their, didn't have the capacity to increase their emotional intelligence?
Well, I'm not a doctor or anything. I don't know if it was possible or not. I have met lots of people who are not willing to, whether they could or not. I don't know. There's people where you go, come on, dude, geez. And you imagine that, and a lot of people do that, imagine and generalize that people, oh, they'll never change. They can't get this. It's impossible kind of stuff. That's usually not true, in my opinion. It's usually ignorance, not apathy, meaning that they don't know. It's not that they don't care. They might care, but they don't know. They have no idea. Most people do not have never heard of emotional intelligence. Even the concept of being smart about your thoughts and your feelings, never even imagine that. And that's a bad thing. That's a very bad thing. So I don't know. I don't know.
I got one. So I would assume outside of like your website and your YouTube, we mentioned that emotional intelligence, that it is an education-based thing. Where would you direct us to get more education if we want to continue to learn and grow and improve on our own individuals' emotional intelligence?
Good question. Great question. Okay, I got this ready here. I have published a couple books, but one of them is on it's here somewhere. Anyway, here it is on a Google Drive. So you're welcome. You guys can have it if you'd like. Go ahead and read it. No charge. It's on a Google Drive. And 6seconds.org, 6seconds.org is an excellent place to start. They have training and assessments and education and certifications and coaching and on and on and on. So it's a very, very good place to start. CASEL, if you're interested in schools, in academia, CASEL.org. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. I'll put that in the chat as well. And Daniel Goleman started all this, or he's the one that made it all popular. So you might read some stuff on him. Wow, right? Holy moly. Just real, he's a consultant to Google, and he's got it going on. He started figuring it out to begin with, and he's explained. We were teaching it for 10 years before he came out with that book. And I was like, he said, it's emotional intelligence. I'm like, oh yes, that's what that's called. Oh yeah, fantastic. Like, oh, that's what that's called. What a beautiful word. Intelligence, knowing about your emotions. So yeah, I hope that helps, but I got tons more. If you want to write to me, I've got tons and tons of resources. I do not have them all on the website yet.
Wonderful,
sadly.
perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Matt, we have a question in the comments that says, is there a common denominator? This is from Keisha Campbell. Is there a common denominator that you have observed with people who do not want to be open to emotional intelligence?
Mostly cluelessness, mostly ignorance, mostly they just don't know. They don't even know. And then second is non-emotional responsibility. That's not a real word, but I don't know what the word is, but it ends up being, if you take responsibility for yourself, for your emotions or your thoughts, your feelings, your action, all that kind of stuff, you could do incredible stuff. If you don't, you become a whiner, blamer, victim. Oh my gosh, they did it to me. The world's doing it, and ain't it awful? And it goes downhill from there. Being a victim is an awful thing. So it's mostly education, in my opinion.
So Matt, were you always naturally positive and optimistic with the energy that you have and the energy that you're displaying? It tells me that you have a mindset of positivity that was switched on. When did that happen?
When I figured out that I see, when I in sixth grade, like I said, we used to go to the therapist. I was a mess in high school. I was a mess. I've got some pretty bad stories about high school. After that, after college, I took a workshop on emotional intelligence. That wasn't what it's called. And I realized that, hey, maybe I'm not as sick as I thought I was. Maybe I'm not as broken. I just didn't know how to deal with my emotion, none. And I talked to my mom and dad about it both, and they were like, huh? My dad said, quote, I wouldn't know an emotion if it slapped me upside the head. He said, you know, my dad, he was a tough attorney in Brooklyn, New York. And he said, can you imagine us sitting around talking about emotions? No way. And so they were clueless, completely clueless. So I figured out that I didn't know about emotions. And then soon after, I feel like, you know what? Nobody else does either. And that's pretty bad. And then I went, you know what? Apparently it's my destiny, or my, whatever you want to call it, my calling to go, hey, you guys, this is really, really, really important. I still have a day job and some other stuff going on, but this is what I do. This is, as you can see, this is what I do for real.
So look, I'm sorry, guys. So have you been able to read our emotions in our group, our class? Have you been able to read some of our emotions while we've been on here?
Read as in guess. Yes, reading is empathy is a guess. Compassion is a guess, actually, it turns out, but I can guess what you're feeling, and
Okay.
some beautiful stuff. There's a lot of love here. There's a lot of people going, you know what, we can make a difference here. Even though it was tough for me, I'm going to make a difference. And that is super cool. That was one of the slides I was getting to. RPG, we call it. The RPG are the three biggest skills, in my opinion, of emotional intelligence: resilience, perseverance, and grit. You guys have heard of grit before, right? There's now a whole study on grit, University of Pennsylvania, Dr. Martin Seligman, who started positive psychology. Grit, there's grit for moms, grit for everybody, and grit is like, this is gonna suck, and I can do it. I can do this. I can do it. You grit your teeth and get through it, and that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So
it is 8:42. How are you feeling? I know Shakila has a question for you. Shakila's gonna ask you for a favor, but what's your body saying right now? Matt?
Oh, me. Oh, hurry. It's same as usual. Hurry, you're not gonna get it. You're not gonna get everything across that you want to. I'm getting teary about that. I never do. I do presentations like 3 or 5 a week now in different countries. People in other countries are eating this stuff up. We're talking about university. I have currently three universities who called me to ask me to write classes for them. When have you ever heard that before? And I'm not I have a bachelor's in business management. They just love this subject. And you know what? I'm not going to be able to get it all across. I'm not. And it just tears me up. It tears me up that I'm not going to be able to get as much across as I want to.
Hey,
I'll live with it.
look,
That's right.
you did your job with the folks that was here tonight. So here's how we're gonna thank you. If Matt says something that was really profound to you, please drop it in the comments. If there is a word that you're feeling as a result of Matt's presence, will you drop that one word in the comment? And then as they come through, I'm gonna read them off, and then Shakita's gonna ask Matt for one last favor, and we're gonna be almost done. Matt, round of applause.
All right. I would just want to say that as I'm feeling it right now, and I'm getting teary here, is that being high emotional intelligence, in my opinion, it is not about turning everything positive and making everything all yippee skippy. And my wife would certainly agree with that I'm too positive sometimes. But real emotional intelligence is being able to deal with your emotions as they come up, as bad or as big as they are, or whatever they are, but you can deal with them. Caleb, I think, was mentioning that earlier, is being able to be flexible and being emotional agility. I love that term, is going in, going back out. All right, I can deal with this and it's okay. It's okay.
A lot of clapping, a lot of hearts. You've left some people feeling relieved. You've left some people with realization. You've left some people on a mission to build peace from the inside out. You've left some people in this conversation with inner strength and outer strength going together. You've left some people hearing that personal accountability matters. And some people saying not to let another person control your emotions, which goes back to our undebatable.
They can affect them. They can affect them, but not control them. They can affect them, but not control them. You're in charge of you, right? Woohoo!
We're in charge of you. All right, Shakira, do your thing, and we're gonna let Matt go enjoy what's left of California's sun.
Matt,
Yeah.
Thank you from all of us, like literally, to be in your presence. Such an honor, literally. But we would like you, if you be willing, to give us 1 minute of your experience with all of us today. We are the first Reacher Academy for 2023. And we're gonna always be the dopest, right? And so we love to get a 1 minute from you about your experience with us this evening, if you'd be willing. Okay.
I am very well.
I'm very willing,
because
it's your testimony, and everybody else, if you're mute, because we're gonna use this recording, so everybody else mute.
Yeah, I'm very willing, Skilla. Thank you. That's a cool question. I love working with people who want it. Most of the people I work with have no idea what I'm talking about, and hopefully by the end they're like, "Oh, really? Really?" I mean, that's kind of the biggest thing. But you guys already know, and you want it, and you're learning, and you're here actively improving and actively. The other thing is that a lot of people don't like being uncomfortable, and you guys apparently are willing to be uncomfortable. Emotions are uncomfortable sometimes, and if you can get comfortable being uncomfortable, you can do some incredible stuff. And so I'm really proud of you guys. I'm honored to be here. Cindy is one of my heroes of taking people that have been hurting and turning it. I call it spin it to win it. I didn't get to my hashtag. I got all these hashtags. Spin it to win it. Change it. The dialogue that's going inside. Change the beliefs and change your life. So go, you guys. Woohoo! Be a reacher. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Matt, 2 heartbeats from everywhere we are fleshly, physically located, and we want to continue to support your work. And if you all have not yet, if you were inspired by Matt, one of the greatest things that we could do because of his knowledge philanthropy is follow his YouTube channel, which was linked, and then drop a comment, because it pushes the analytics up. So drop a comment, tell him thank you for stopping by. And Matt, you're more than welcome to stay with us if you choose to finish out. We're going to close out at 1 minute past the hour. It's up to you. It's up to you.
I would love to, yeah, I have trouble sometimes being on time to things, and my wife is expecting me at the top of the hour for a dinner and a movie. We're going to go see Top Gun tonight, and so I got to get my butt out there, and so I got to go. I would love to stay. Thank you, you guys. Take care. Keep doing what you're doing. All right, and if you want me back or you want some more information, let me know. Okay, take care. Bye bye.
Good movie, enjoy. Oh, somebody said, I haven't seen, I'm not a Top Gun fan, so no, we'll see. I liked him. Derek's like, I might be missing out. Okay, people. In 13 minutes, we're going to be leaving, and I do have, we're a little bit off schedule, but one of the most important things that has to happen before we leave, I need everybody to click on that link that I just sent. And then as soon as you're done, come back. As soon as you're done taking that, come back. Reachers, I'm sorry, this is for Reachers. If you're a Reacher, if you'll do that, and Keisha as well. I can see your results real time. So as soon as I see the people that are here finishing, I'm going to close this out with the last few questions that were asked. I thought I could see real time, but I think some people might. Clarence, if you got kicked out, let me know if you can do the survey real quick. I think
Can you resend it in the chat, please?
I think you might have. Y'all, I lied, I guess, because now I can't see names. Anybody else that still needs more time, let me know. If I don't see anything in the chat, that means you're done. Something's going on. I guess it's not letting me do it while I'm on this side.
I'm almost done.
Okay. Please just make sure to do that before the night. I'm gonna go ahead and move us to questions and debrief. Done, almost done. Okay, it's frozen. Okay, come back to it, Queen, and just make sure y'all do it before we leave, because this is our bread and butter part. This is our bread and butter to say, you know, if this is working, and try to get people to support our cause. I got Ruth, I got Ruby, got Shakila, got Macaulay, got Chanel, got Murano, got Baltazar. Oh, I think we lost Renisha. I don't see Renisha anymore. I think we might have lost Renisha. I should have invited her.
Yeah, I was looking for Renisha for the speaking, and I called her out, and she might have already been gone.
He was here for a while, but I don't see her name. Look, let's transition if y'all don't mind. Thank you, Duns, and anybody else, just kind of hold that and just promise me you'll do it before we leave. Can y'all see my screen? Deep breaths. Deep breaths. I received these questions after y'all had your essential friend group. Because of time, I'm not going to go through the, I'll read the survey results because I asked y'all how did your friend group stuff go at the pre-test. So first, thank you, team leads who took the lead, Melissa, Jason, and Renisha, the lead, took the lead on that this time. I wanted to leave some time to address any questions. So we got 7 minutes. So think of the best ones that you can come up with. Otherwise, I'm going to wait behind after 9:01 for those people who have questions they'd rather ask offline. And if you need help with your email address, I'm going to wait offline. I think I might keep Kate to help me a little bit. So those are the two things that'll happen offline. But right now, I would like to address the questions that came up from the Blue group. I think it was the Blue group. Am I right about that? Blue group people? Is there anybody here from the Blue group?
Yes, you're right.
Okay. So one of the questions that came up was, well, first let me ask y'all, did y'all get an answer to this already? Blue group. And then yellow and red group, was anybody in your group having the same questions? If I didn't, if you want to say something now, I'll do my best to answer. Sorry, I can't see the chat anymore. Okay, here we go. I'm going to take silence as ready. So how do we tell our stories yet avoid vicarious trauma? I am not a clinician. I'm not a clinician. I am very heavily insured. So I'm going to go on record and give you my opinion. Know thyself.
To thine own self be true.
The only way you're going to be able to avoid vicarious, if I'm pronouncing that word, trauma, is learning your body, because your body will tell you when it's had enough. Okay. I know my limits and I'm still learning. Like just last week, I learned what resentment felt like with somebody I love. So know thyself is my unclinical.
Yeah, I was going to say, pay attention.
Mhm.
Will give us signals, and then have somebody in our life, whether it's a therapist or a loved one, that we can go to process. But when those signals happen, pay attention.
Pay attention.
This question came about, Cindy, when we watched the Tonir thing, and we saw when she did it at the jail, some ladies were crying and they had to call in a counselor. That's where that question came from.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and a part of y'all's assignment next month is to finish in your groups, finish that documentary. Again, with my non-clinical background, number 2, it says traumatizing ourselves every time we tell the stories. I am looking for people who want to have the conversation. If your story happens to come up as a result of that, you have to know thyself. Period, point blank. As you guys raise money to cover the cost of this, you'll be able to afford a therapist if for some reason that's not available. But that also comes as the fundraising efforts, right? So none of you will be asked to be behind a microphone if you're not ready. Feel free, when I send y'all these invites, and I've got quite a few people wanting y'all to come on their shows, feel free. If you're not ready, use this first 3 months of the season is about finding out if you're ready enough for this type of capacity, right? And either way it go, I feel like everybody's supposed to be here, whether you become a keynote speaker or whether you just hold book club meetings. Either way it go, I want people that can start the conversation. Whether your story is involved in that or not, it makes it, obviously you'll learn that along the way. So Blue group, I do hope I answered your question with the first 2. Anybody from the Blue group, speak now, forever hold your peace. Did I answer your question?
Our questions are answered. And I don't know if Chanel is on here. Chanel?
Yep.
Okay.
Good.
Number 3, will speaking engagements be scheduled during or after the 11-month program? Chanel's group kind of answered this. Y'all are already doing them. So if you're signing up for podcasts, you're already happening. What I can tell you is not gonna happen just yet. You cannot get paid yet. There's some additional paperwork that comes as a result of me actually exchanging money from my hands to yours for showing up for a show. And I can tell you right now, that won't happen within the first 3 months. Right now, y'all are in rotation. You accept these as they come, but I can tell you, people will eventually start having to pay for y'all's words. Y'all get it? I see that. So I am going to invite a group of you who feel ready to a summit that we're going to do in November. But again, you can either come and use this as practice time before we get out of our residency, or you can observe others and just take notes and feel yourself out in terms of like how you're going to use the microphone and camera when it's on you to bring this conversation up. Y'all feel full? Y'all feel full? Okay. Now, that's it. That's it. That's it. Let's take some more questions. Y'all got 1 minute with me. Any final thoughts?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope y'all got something out of this.
Like this, I really, 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 really appreciated the speakers that you brought on today. I'm not gonna lie, it's crazy how it just so happens that I really needed to be on this call tonight, because it's like everything that's kind of been going on throughout the rest of my day, some of the heated conversations I had, you know, it's funny how people can say things to you, but sometimes it sounds different when it comes out of somebody else's mouth. So just to hear Matt essentially kind of reiterate, even if it came out of my own mouth, that it's like, you know, you control you, like you can control that. I think it's very humbling and grounding to realize that, you know, we really, it all starts from within and then comes out.
Thank you, Kayla. I'm sharing myself with you, y'all, and not to make this about me, but I am. Everybody that's supposed to be here is supposed to be here, right? And when y'all said yes to this, you said yes to me. And this is the version I'm gonna give you and me every time, right? And as my emotional intelligence grows, you're gonna see me getting better. But if you can't stand me now, you probably need to leave. I'm just gonna tell you right now, because this is what I got. This is what I bring to the table right now. And I feel useful when I can help other people. And I can only do that by knowing thyself. So I know myself first, and I hope that y'all can take something from this, and then we can go out and change the world one word at a time. All right, it is 9 o'clock. Derek, you over there, you hung in there. Thank you. We love having guest visitors. Thank you.
I can talk a lot. You got to watch out for us silent guys.
I'm gonna invite you back.
And I just wanted to say thank you for inviting me. I think what you guys are doing here is absolutely beautiful. Cindy, what you're doing is just spectacular. I mean, emotional intelligence is just something that people don't talk about and people are not aware of. And your trauma, telling the story is it's important. People, you got to be careful who you tell your story to, because there will be a lot of people who are going to try and take advantage of you. But I think in having groups like this and being open sessions where people can say how they feel and learn from other people as well, I think it's beautiful what you're doing. So congratulations to all of you. And Cindy, great job. Like really spectacular. Shaquila, you too. I don't know where you're at. I can't see anymore, but everyone, what you're doing is great. So thank you for inviting me to this, and keep doing what you're doing. And maybe, I don't know, maybe this is going to help a lot of people. So keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. And thank you for following the work and giving us the courage to reach out to Curtis.
Hey, it was meant to be, right? Right place, right time.
Meant to be. All right, class is officially over. So anything y'all want to say, I'm gonna stop the recording. Y'all want to say something that's not recorded? No, let me stop. How do I stop it, Caleb? There we go.
Peace and love to all of you.
Or do we want the after hour show? Okay, if you want to stay and hang out, just because you're not in a rush to go to sleep, I'm gonna hang out for like 15 more minutes. And anybody that's ready to log off, I'm gonna say peace down to you. I hope you sleep really well and stay in heaven. Stay in heaven with your words and your thoughts. Right, Miss Sandra from Atlanta? I mean, from Georgia. Right, Miss Sandra from Georgia?
All right, good night, y'all.
Night.
I got two beautiful patient ladies who've been waiting for me, my wife and daughter, so I gotta
Tell
get out
her
of here.
thank you for sharing you with us tonight.
Thank you for the work you're doing. It's beautiful. Peace and love to all.
Ooh, bye, Dad.
Bye,
All
Dad.
right.
Bye, everybody who's not staying behind.
I'm staying behind.
He said I need all those.
Well, I need to stay behind because I had trouble with my email.
Hi,
All right,
Keisha.
let's
I'm so
go.
glad you joined.
Oh,
Me too. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. I enjoyed tonight. The speakers were awesome.
It's
Yeah,
a
they
lot
were.
on a Wednesday night, especially after you didn't been to work, but hopefully, the surveys results look really good compared to where people came in to how they responded leaving out. It's good. Overall, really good. Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Good.
So Keisha, just so y'all know, Keisha was introduced to me by Sandra, and I definitely would love to have Keisha join us on the Reacher team. I told her I felt like a spot would open up, and so she, even though she's not official yet, she's joined us the last 2 times. She was both with us in orientation. She's planning to be a part of this. So thank you. And Keisha,
Thank you for having me.
Keisha, where are you again? Virginia?
Yes, Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Virginia Beach, Virginia, and Keisha focuses on, the best way I can put it, it has something to do with incarceration, but also, and if I get this right, setting boundaries with people who have been incarcerated and they push their expectations on you to help them out, and how to make sure that you as a caregiver of them knows where your boundaries are. I think I explained that right, kind of.
Got it. You got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm intrigued. Look, I'm intrigued.
Anything boundaries, I'm intrigued. So Sandra, let's do this. You needed help with your cell phone, right?
I couldn't get it on my cell phone and I could not get it on my MacBook either place.
Is that something you can step in and help out with?
Not a problem. Would you want us to do it here or you want us to pop in the breakout room?
Oh, why don't
Oh, it doesn't matter. You can do it
I
here.
was talking to Cindy.
Oh, Caleb showing his skills over here.
I'm gonna put Caleb in. I can do.
I'm just saying you can open a breakout room and pop me and her in it, and I can help hers. But I don't know if you wanted us to, because that's like an aside.
Okay, try it. I see it's Sandra, and I don't know if I did this right. It said Caleb joined. Sandra, you going? Shakila, you don't leave, and Keisha, y'all don't leave. Unless Shakila, do you need help with your technology?
Oh no.
Okay.
Okay,
Sandra, I don't know how to do this. Okay, it says not joined.
Well, you did it. She did it.
Oh,
She had to join. Remember? You did it, girl. I'm so proud of you.
I know. Caleb got on the line early and helped me with Zoom because I was like, Zoom gives me anxiety. How y'all feeling? That was heavy. And I'm only thinking that was heavy, especially for people who ain't that far along in doing the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me start recording.
Okay.